relax, and keep your eyes to the skies.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S-4, where we talk about the serious issues involving paranormal and current events, coming to you live from the S-4 headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains here in the studio in Cape Horn, Washington. Actually, Concrete, Washington. But that's okay, we're in Cape Horn. That's all that matters. It is December 6th. We're having our Christmas Roundtable tonight, where we have a panel of friends sitting around, drinking coffee, asking questions of anything paranormal and current events, but with a holiday theme. Maybe not. We'll see. Tonight we have Ed Hubbard, founder of Witch School and paranormal connoisseur, Joel Geyer, our California contact, geologist and master of pointy sticks, and Barry Gallant, Kentucky MUFON, paranormal investigator and host of Into the Fire Radio. How are we all doing tonight?
Perfect.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Good.
Lovely.
Happy St. Nicholas Day to everyone. Hope you're stocking
Ho, ho, ho.
Yes.
And hopefully keep good and bad little kids. Watch out. Krampus is here too.
Well, yeah, I'm about to say, not just
Yes.
St. Niklaus Day, but
That was yesterday.
it was Krampus not
And I'm still here.
last
I'm
night.
good.
We, in fact,
You guys,
Anthony and I
Well, that
said,
was my first question
What? What?
about Krampus.
Well, he
Okay.
tried to take Kayla away last night, but he figured out she's dead weight when she's sleeping.
Yeah, I just gave him a lump of coal instead.
It really hurts when you grab his chain and jerk him backwards. He doesn't like that too well.
Bad Krampus. Watcha.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting because, and Ed, you might have a good answer for this, but isn't Krampus reminiscent of the Greek god Pan?
some people are saying that. And it is. But it really is for them the green man, the man who comes out of the forest,
Okay.
the man that they fear, and that looks a lot like Pan. I mean, they've all got kind of put in the same area. It's high energy, fertility based gods that have cloven feet. It's a clown, and Krampus is their fear, and this is a really good mechanism for them to kind of make their kids face fear. They've scared those kids so bad during those days, and you remember this was a time when it was a lot less safe at night. So yeah, it was a lot of fun for the adults, I have no doubt. But it's an interesting one.
Excellent.
And it's one of the things we take away, because this Christmas used to be way darker than it is today. Today it's really bright light, red and white.
Well, Coca-Cola kind of changed that in the 1920s. Coca-Cola is what changed the image of Santa Claus to, Santa Claus sitting there drinking a big glass bottle of Coke. Mm-hmm. And, the commercialization started.
Now it's fuzzy little polar bears.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was back in the 20s when there was still cocaine in the Coca-Cola, and that's why Santa Claus got around the earth every night.
Right? Well, that goes to one of Cole's questions.
Ooh.
But we'll get to that more in depth
So many
later.
questions.
So, Joe, what is your first question tonight?
Well, it was about Krampus. I was going to, thought you can talk about that, and you have basically Santa Claus is almost a cryptid. No one's really seen him, and no one really knows anything about him, but no one ever talks about his other half, the Krampus, which, Santa Claus carried a bag around full of presents he'd give out to little kids, but then his sidekick carried an empty bag around that he'd put kids in and beat them with a stick. I was just kind of wondering, why do you think, other than Coca-Cola, that society accepted Santa Claus, but no one's ever heard of Krampus? Which, they kind of go together, yin and yang,
They're supposed to. It's weird, and I've brought this up over the years before. Being stationed in Germany for 8 years, I'd never even heard of Krampus. So they have St. Peter's Day, which goes along with. He's called Black Peter because he's a chimney sweep. Mm-hmm. And he goes along with St. Niklaus, and every German village or German town, Santa Claus would go through that town with his list. And he'd be on a horse-drawn carriage along with Black Peter. if they were bad, they got a piece of coal from Black Peter, and they got a candy cane or a small token from St. Nicholas. But there was never a mention about Krampus from any of the locals. And I had German friends all over Germany. I never even heard Krampus until the movie came out here, in 2016.
So I can answer that in part. Part of it's a revival. We're starting to revive it. We started seeing Krampus revivals starting in the 80s and 90s when people were looking, especially when tourism came in to look for these old legends. They went from ghosts and the tellers of these tales. I also think, and I'm a big believer in spirits, that these spirits have been around for a while, but they were eliminated during a lot of the Inquisition and anti-witch days. A lot of the stories, Bella out of the Italian witch, the Iceland cat that will eat you if you do not wear your winter clothes. I mean, Europe is filled with these sort of cryptids and monsters at Halloween, and they were almost all virtually eliminated, especially first by Inquisitioners, and then by literature. Kind of making it all one kind of, we're kind of more civilized people. Stop these superstitions. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of them that left the spirits kind of sitting there, and I think they're now repossessing their own spaces. I think they're coming back in.
Good point.
See, I've always thought it was more.
If Black Peter was a chimney sweep, maybe that's how they kind of combined them, and that's how Santa Claus goes down the chimney.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That makes perfect sense for the Germanic cultures. You got anything to add, Barry? What's your thoughts on Krampus? Barry.
He's here.
Barry's not here, man.
Oh, yeah, Barry.
Barry.
Krampus got Barry.
Krampus I'm having a long talk with Krampus right now. Krampus is wonderful, and it goes. I was listening to talk about the spirits and the old time Wiccan beliefs and the old things, and it all falls into place, and especially with Christmas because of all of the Yuletide tales that go on with Christmas. You mentioned the Black Chimney Sweep and all of that, and it's. I think it's great, and I think that we're going to see more and more of them. I think there's a resurgence to start telling ghost stories back into Christmas like they used to many years ago.
And we'll start tonight.
Yes.
But as far as Krampus goes, though, there's stories that have been around forever about him, but there's also revivals of him. Like for instance, the Grinch would be more relatable to Krampus than it would be relatable to Santa Claus or anything like that. Yeah, he's basically the anti-Christmas. So,
well, actually, I will protest. The Grinch didn't hate Christmas; he hated people who are not celebrating it correctly. If you ever read the story, he doesn't hate the Christmas; he hates the people.
He hates that they're too loud.
That's right.
I can relate.
Yeah. And that he takes it out on Christmas. But yeah, you're right. He's a Krampus figure. We have other Krampus figures in our society too. But the movie that we made brought it to America's attention. Let's be honest. We want to make something in our society, turn it into a movie monster, and we see it everywhere.
Yep. Right.
We want more of it.
Yeah.
So I think Krampus, I think in America, that's where Krampus is coming from. We can grab it from other places, but that movie brought it to America again.
Mm-hmm. So
you got to remember early.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, you got to remember early Christians of America chased away these spirits constantly. They were constantly exercising unicorns, anything they saw that was fake, anything they didn't like. They were constantly exercising and trying to eliminate it from their history.
Well, yeah, you got the stars. If you look at a lot of places on barns, there's a big star. Usually a rust red star because, well, they painted the barns red also, but that was supposed to ward off all the evil spirits. And I believe that came from over in Germany.
It did.
That came from the Dutch Hex, I believe. The Dutch Hex stars.
I've got the stars on my house and the barn.
Mm-hmm. So what's your first question, Cole?
All right, guys.
Oh, great.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Uh-huh. Through the ringer.
Right.
What? So we all know the story of Santa Claus.
Absolutely.
We all know how he comes to every child's house one night a year.
Mm-hmm.
How do they fly?
The reindeer?
I
Magic
want your
dust.
best theory on how the sleigh flies.
Ooh, crickets.
Okay.
So,
a Mercury-powered engine.
You might want to explain that a little bit.
I don't think there's an engine at all. I think it's pure and simple magic.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a pure magic. If you go back to the old traditional thing,
So
You know,
it's a quantum matrix device that can move, because anytime he's ready to deliver those presents, they're all in exactly wherever they need to be through superimposition. So he doesn't fly around the world. He just simply is. The sleigh is, and the presents just appear within the matrix.
So
Good one.
Quantum.
you're talking about the tunneling effect, basically?
Yeah, and
The presents are
superimposition-
here and they're not here.
And then he just snaps his finger, and if you can see them, they're there. The observer theory into effect.
Okay, so
I like
you're
that.
putting Santa Claus down on a quantum level, and you're making him into the particle version of him, and he is tunneling everywhere and then nowhere, right? Is what you're saying?
Absolutely. It's the only way he could. That's a major way he could exist as a temporal as some upper temporal being, a 5D or 4D universe. I think a lot about Santa. I'm a big Santa fan, and I got into basically possessive spirits. There's a whole energy about Santa as a possessive spirit too. So we have this sort of super mind that we've created, this hyper reality of Santa, and it acts like a spirit sometimes. I mean, it's something we've created, and so why not? The quantum being in the quantum realm makes sense for him. I mean,
Right. Yeah. So
I
that
know,
goes
too
along-
serious.
Right. That goes along with the same theory of the fact that he is opening portals and going through different portals. So basically, string theory in practice. Pulling here and there. Yeah.
yes.
be careful. You're going to.
I always thought the possibility existed that he could stop time.
Well, that's the other answer too, and then
Or
you have to go.
travel at a different vibration where he's actually moving faster, and it only takes one night.
Okay, that
Raising
goes
the
to your other
frequency.
question too, doesn't it?
Well, but that's the thing, okay? So those two questions actually do coexist because Albert Einstein once theorized space and time are not two separate things.
Right. It is space time.
It is complete space-time. They have to be together. So therefore, if you stop time, you stop space. Literally, everything stops moving.
So it has to go into the next question of how does he go around the world in one night?
Right.
Yeah.
There is no time and space. There is no time. So if you
There
are
is
in a
space
different... Yeah, well, if you're
Barry,
in a
you
different...
just scared the crap out of every parent that's listening. They just heard on December 6th, we don't have time.
Right. Theory is actually when you're talking about the in a different plane, you are not. I mean, there is no such time. There isn't a thing as time. Time is continual. I mean, it just is. It is nothing. So that's why you see all of time of one. You can go to any time or do anything you want. So you can actually reverse time or go back farther in time and change things, or you can come that way and it automatically change the time. You know, when I was a kid, we used to watch that Little Puppet show on Santa Claus, and he starts out with being a little toy maker with his family and all that stuff, and he has an arch enemy, and it's Winter. You know, and
Mr. Winter.
Winter, he softens Winter's heart by giving him a toy. And then winter gives him some magic and allows him to the reindeer to fly, to do all that other stuff. That's the basics of the story that I grew up in and everything else, and that's what we I've always taught the kids about, and I love watching that movie with them because it explains a lot of the things that we're asking right now.
Okay, you got to admit, though, the best part of that movie is the penguin and Burgermeister Burger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yes. It's oink, 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 oink.
Right.
Well, don't we get a little bit of it from when NORAD tracks him? I mean, NORAD tracks him every year, and don't we get a sense of how fast he's delivering it? I mean, kids can watch that. So we now know it. Yeah.
For our listeners,
well, didn't Santa, as far as the sleigh moving and flying, didn't Santa sprinkle the reindeer with some type of magic powder? Well, let's just call it cocaine. And Rudolph had a really red nose because he was in the lead and he did more than the rest of them, and that's how they got around so fast.
Yeah.
That's where the Coca-Cola comes in.
So, okay,
Coca-Cola, there we go. It all comes back to Coca-Cola.
We went to Kayla's mom's house last night and we watched a few Christmas movies with her.
Oh, yeah, we did.
And Arthur Christmas actually had a good explanation for what he has always dusted him with, and it is mined dust particles from the Aurora Borealis.
Yep.
I like that. I like that theory.
I was going to say peyote, but okay.
That's the native Santa.
Yes.
For our listeners who are that use the Santa tracker, it went live yesterday.
Nice.
So at any point this month, you can take your kids on there. There are games, there are puzzles, all kinds of things.
And what's the website for that?
NORAD.
It's NORAD.gov, I believe, isn't it?
www.norad.gov.
Guys, we're old enough. Google NORAD Santa Tracker. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Ed, what's your first question tonight?
So people have encounters with Santa. I actually know several people have had encounters with some sort of spirit at that holiday that did something that changed their lives. Is there any paranormal way to actually analyze them to see what they had? Or what they did, what it was that they encountered. My really quick story is I had a friend who basically lost their wallet, lost their money, lost everything, and on the holiday. But they, just made the best of it. Somebody came and picked them up, and when they got to the other space, somebody said, "Hey, I saw you drop these," or they lost them, and they handed it to him right before she was in deep despair, and we found out that she was going to go see her grandmother with her children, and all her money was in that bag. Now, I know that's kind of an interesting story, but I have a dozen of these around Christmas. Mm-hmm. Of presents from the departed, that the present was from the departed, things of that nature. How would you analyze something like that? Mm-hmm.
So just a real quick answer. Any major holiday, such as Christmas, such as Thanksgiving, you do have passed on ancestors that are watching over you. Mm-hmm. They come back at these points in time because these are the depressive times when you've lost a loved one. So there's a couple quick answers to that. One is your passed on, the spirits of your passed on relatives come on and may help you out in those situations. The other is fairies, fae. It's another. Think about it. Santa Claus himself is supposed to be a gnome. There's a lot of fae activity. What was the first Christmas tree? The story of the Christmas tree was they were bringing in one tree out of the forest to warm up the woodland spirits, to warm up the fae. And they would put on snacks and candy and a bell in the original Christmas trees to feed the woodland fae. And have a bell on it so they could ring it in appreciation. So some of these stories are fae, some of them are passed on ancestors.
See, I look at it in a totally...
You didn't answer his question. How do you track Santa Claus? How do you track a person like Santa Claus?
Like
on
Santa
Christmas
Claus.
Eve?
Okay,
Like, how would you? Could any of our paranormal equipment be used to
That's not what I heard.
capture him? Not capture.
Oh my
capture.
God.
That's an interesting question too. But
So an EMF meter
that's it.
may. Think about it. You're altering the electromagnetic frequency regardless of what you're using.
I think you'd be better off with a recording flare camera.
Maybe.
Possible.
I don't know. I
We'll just send the astral team out.
see. I took that a totally different way too. Like I thought he was talking about like the feeling of goodwill, basically that things happen and that there's no explanation really to why these things happen, but there seems to be a lot more around holidays that happen. And honestly, what I really do think is that the spirit of Christmas and the goodwill of humanity is heightened at this time of year. Everybody is willing to do things at this time of year that they wouldn't necessarily do at other times. And let's say somebody found a wallet sitting in, like you were talking about, they found a wallet and it was sitting in a shopping cart outside of a store. Well, maybe for the rest of the year, the 364 days out of the year, they might have just taken that, or they might have maybe handed it in to somebody. But at this time of year, they look at that as this is feeding a family for Christmas. I have to give this in. You know? Like, I think it really has to do with good energy and good thoughts being thrown out there and everybody wanting a little bit of that Christmas happiness.
Sure.
I think that goes as far as, like, everything we do during this time of year.
Yeah.
Like, as a parent, I buy my kids things that the rest of the year I'd be like, you don't freaking need that. And even, like, as they're opening, I'm like, why did I buy you that? What the hell?
It's good
What
energy
was I
manipulation.
Right.
And I honestly think that is part of what the spirit of Christmas is it passes through everyone and everything and makes us do things.
I think you're onto
normally
something
wouldn't
there,
do.
Cole. Maybe Santa Claus doesn't visit everybody's house every Christmas night. Maybe he has the ability to, well, for lack of a better term, possess everybody and fill them with that spirit so that they give their children things that they normally wouldn't.
It's mind control.
Right. Well,
Santa MK Ultra.
I would like to, like,
Yeah.
the only thing I would say is if you actually look on sites like Reddit and other different types of long-term chat sites, there are too many stories around the world of a family who maybe couldn't afford anything to give their child. Mm-hmm. And yet there was still something in that stocking the next morning. Mm-hmm. And neither parent bought it.
Right.
There is something going on where, like, there are some events out in the world where it has to be him. There is no other explanation because we all have some form of security in our houses, and a lot of these houses were completely secured. Both parents say they didn't put it in there, and there is still presents under that tree for the kid.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna go super weird here, but I also think that we kind of have like a collection. Okay, so throughout the year, we do good deeds, we do bad deeds, all of these things throughout the year for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. And I believe that goodwill is collected throughout the year and that it is re-released in December to tide you over for the entire rest of the next year until the next December. Okay? So everybody has way more goodwill and cheer this time of year than they do for the rest of the entire year until it gets redistributed again at the beginning of December for the next year.
So a collective positive
positive energy that gets distributed once a year and it lasts throughout the year. And that's why leading up to December, we have horrific things happening and everything is because we don't have enough of that collective energy out in the world until it gets re-released in December.
You went total full librarians on it.
Kind of.
Well, see, I was
kind of.
Well, like you just said, everyone's talking about the goodwill and the cheer and the goodwill to other men and everything. Have you people been on the internet or seen the news all year? This place is horrible right now.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard a nice thing on the internet in months.
Level 12 Jumanji.
It's because of the Christmas war last year.
War. Every war.
The war on Christmas. There we go. Oh, God.
Well, and this time of year is the only time that we know of that there has been sworn enemies that have stopped shooting at each other and sat down together for a meal.
Yep.
I mean, this time of year just brings people together, and there's got to be some kind of an explanation as to why.
World War One.
Yeah.
World War One. The German side and the U.S. side stopped.
British.
Huh?
Not the U.S.
British.
The British.
British.
Yeah. German and British, but yeah.
Yeah. Stop fighting, put their weapons down, and sing Christmas carols, then went back to shooting the next day.
Exactly. And that kind of thing
Not just
doesn't
Christmas
just
carols, they played
randomly
soccer.
happen.
Huh?
They played soccer.
Mm-hmm. In the dead zone, they played soccer.
Watching a few of the World Soccer matches, I'm surprised they didn't break out in fighting again right after the soccer game.
But I mean, there has to be some kind of collective force that makes people cheery this time of year, that makes people do things that they wouldn't normally do.
So, if I can offer, there's a lot of people who believe that Santa Claus is Odin or a god form.
Right.
And that would explain more of it. I actually know priestesses that are committed to Kringle who are actually dedicated priestesses of Santa. Ginger Saravelli out of North Carolina. They actually have rituals from ancient time. And you talk about cocaine and everything else, but don't forget the mushrooms. There's a reason why those mushrooms are there. Those deers were flying a little high, a little more than cocaine, they say. But this idea of this sort of Santa Claus, or they have these sort of beliefs of this, and they believe that Santa Claus is a manifesting entity, a fae folk, and that they can actually manifest and possess and do all the powers within Santa Claus are the powers of a god, an egregor, and a fae. So just like any other supernatural entity that we talk in, the cryptids or ghosts or things like that, this is a powerful supernatural entity that keeps getting rebuilt. And Coca-Cola must have summoned them. I can imagine corporate headquarters. We need to summon this season and change it.
And we'll put them on semi-trucks and we'll drive them across this country. Yeah.
Well, that people for years have said that there's power in images, and what comes on this time? I mean, everywhere you look, there's an image of Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. Everywhere.
At the very least, it's a societal brainwashing that we're playing from a program. If nothing else, why can happen, and people are open to it, like suggestion through neurolinguistic programming, through all of this goodwill, through these emotional shifts, whatever. It could be just cultural programming that we built into our society that we keep repeating because it's highly profitable.
Social conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice in December to everybody, and in January you can go back to killing each other.
Yeah.
Right.
The Sunday problem, right? Everybody goes to church on Sunday. Everybody celebrates Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about energy. Did you hear about the spike in Schusterman's residency? The resonant frequency of Earth is, normally stays at 7.83 hertz. And today, for some odd reason, it went to 92 hertz. And they are saying it's because of the planets in retrograde causing intense energy. Also, some solar activity. The sun is back into its form to start doing some things. And isn't it strange that the frequency of Earth went up that high? Right in December.
That sounds like an excuse from the government.
Does that have anything to do with the Bethlehem star that's about to start appearing?
I'm not too sure if it is or not, but it probably does in some ways or another. people have been complaining about ringing in their ears lately. I don't know how many people have been talking about ringing ears. Not tinnitus, but frequencies are loud ringing in their ears. And
so
ghost hunts, we see it everywhere, and that could be one of the side effects. Yes, the bells of Christmas. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can offer a bit of thing. I'm obsessed with astrological because I do a lot of magic based on astrological and astronomical positions. And right now, what we're having, and this is more of the things, we've had a lot of the energy. So the moon's going to be on the same side. You're going to see Jupiter and Saturn come into less than 1 degree of opposition. And that's just a visual thing. But it's also because we've just came out of it, because the alignments of the stars, we're feeling a lot of pull. And if you look at the numbers on the North Pole has been shifting at a high rate and at a higher rate. But here's what people don't pay attention to. It's moving at a higher rate than the South Pole. The South Pole has barely moved in this process. So we're starting to wobble as a top. If you look at the numbers, because everybody pays attention to North America. Very few people pay attention to South America, the South Pole. And we're seeing, and the South Pole is being stable. So that's kind of scary, that sort of thing. So you're having a really heavy pull. Plus we had Okinawa came in, which was a heavy object, which had some gravitational effects. We've had a lot of asteroids come really close to us. We just had another one mess us. We've had a lot miss us lately. Now, it could be all normal that we didn't have the ability to see all this stuff in the past, and all of that creates that sort of frequency. All of that together can make a frequency change. At least it's changing our magnetics. And then I get electronic warnings. We have an electronic warning out right now because of those possible solar flares.
Right.
So we are having at least, the very least, I think we're having a magnetic event.
Yeah, and it's really funny. I've got one of these Madar devices. I talk about it all the time, and it keeps on the magnetic range in it. For some reason, it seems like it goes off, and it seems to be the direction is more into the south, and it is heavily. It jumps from 27 to it's been as high as 198. And I go, what the heck is happening to the magnetic field? Why are we getting all of a sudden a pulse where something's sitting on top of the house shooting magnetic energy to the house? And
5G.
Yeah, well, it could be. As far as I know, we don't have 5G in Kentucky as of yet, so they say. But
you got some Kentucky 5G. Come on.
Yeah. Well, it's not where I'm living.
How do you think they're frying that chicken?
But it does make sense with the magnetics and so forth, and the energy is seeming to be frequency goes up, and it does have effect on people. As the energy.
Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need a complete frequency change. Let's do something totally different here. Let's change all of our frequencies. Let's just do it.
Yep. Raise your vibrations. Yeah. Get rid of the old and open up for the brand new coming in.
That's it.
That's the Galactic Light Federation. They believe the frequency is going to change so much it's going to change our DNA to the 5D. And they're claiming, so everybody's claiming this 12/21/2020, this double star, 800 years ago, will happen again May 15th, 2080.
Oh, great.
So we will never see it again in our lives, or maybe. It depends if singularity comes fast enough. But everybody's putting their energies on it. To me, it's a little bit of a heaven's gate. It's a little bit of a portal energy where I talked to Starseed who say it's going to be the Flash. It's going to be the Quantum people. Everybody's going to be arrested. But everybody's wrapping their mind around this weird event. And all trying to figure that out.
That's the day after our show.
Great. Just what we need is one more weird event happening in 2020. I'm just saying.
It's Jumanji.
Yes.
This didn't work. That didn't work. Let's try this.
You do realize we just started, it's December now.
Yeah?
It is time for the next one.
I don't want it. You guys can keep it. Take that gift back to the store.
There's going to be the alien invasion. Barry, what's your first question tonight?
Well, staying with the. I've got two that are could cause trouble. So during Christmas time, we always have this battle. So which side are you on? Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas?
Ooh.
I don't
Merry
care.
Christmas.
I honestly
You don't care.
If you
I don't get mad
Christian-
if someone says Xmas or
No,
Happy Holidays or
I-
any of that, as long as they say something.
I don't get
I'm a Merry
offended.
Christmas guy myself.
I'm a Merry Christmas guy too, and you know, and last year I got hammered a few times by people going, "That's not politically correct."
So
how's it going?
I'm generally as politically correct as I can be, but when it comes to your holiday,
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
I don't care. Now, on that though, if I say Happy Holidays, don't come after me because I said Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
You know, be glad I didn't say Blessed Yule because that would offend.
I
some
say,
people.
wait. To be honest, that's exactly what I say.
yeah. Blessed Yule.
Blessed Yule. If they offer me their greeting in their language, I give them back their greeting in mine.
And there
I always
should be
believe
nothing
that.
wrong with that.
No.
And in my
Yes,
opinion, there
that's
isn't. I don't
nothing
care
at
what
all.
you say back to me as long as it's not something bad. Like,
Get off my lawn.
yeah.
Yeah.
My loved ones hate me at holidays because I'll do that and they'll start arguing with me, and I will go and give them my lecture about 15 different holidays within a 6-week period. And my loved ones, my kids, always hate me when I do that. So I'm a little bit of a cantankerous person with that. I'm a frontline warrior of Christmas.
As you all know, we are a Catholic household. And
You are.
when we, well, at,
I love you. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about Dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Shut up.
Okay.
So, when we go to my parents' house, we do pray before dinner. Back in the early 2000s, my parents started taking on exchange students from different countries. And they stayed for a year, each of them. So, like, one of them, they all eventually became my sisters, in a way. And my sister, Arem, when she first came, the first time they sat down to pray before dinner, she looked at my dad and said, I don't do this. And the answer he gave is the perfect answer for the whole Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays thing. When we sit down to pray, if you don't believe in the same thing we do, you don't have to do it. We ask that you be respectful. Don't talk through it. Pray to your own God if you have one. Like, it doesn't matter what you believe, but, like, your God helped you get to that food. In some way or another, whatever you believe, your own deity did something for you. Give thanks for him. If you don't have a deity, fine. Sit quietly, bow your head. Think about something.
Right.
But you don't have to ever believe the same thing we do. Just be respectful. That's all we ask.
I think respect as a culture left a long time ago.
But that answer from him proves it didn't.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. I just remember, and I've said this on the show before, at another Christmas show, I just remember sitting in Iraq watching CNN on the damn dining facility TV as they're fighting over Merry Christmas on Starbucks cups.
I love that fight.
And I'm sitting in Iraq going, why the hell am I here? If we can't have... what the hell are we fighting for?
Starbucks cups, did it tell you?
Who cares? I can respect that you want Merry Christmas. As long as you respect that when I say Happy Holidays, it means the same damn thing.
Every one of those greetings honestly means good tidings.
It does.
It does.
So, why are you getting offended because somebody doesn't want to say Merry Christmas? That's your belief? Great. No one's taking it away from you?
Mm-hmm.
The necessity for conformity.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
There you go.
The necessity for conformity, as long as you conform with me, is what it goes like today.
Yeah.
Well, it's the most dominant group always sets the rules.
That's...
And the
loudest.
And the most barbaric oftentimes influences the classes upward. The culture that is willing to break the taboos slowly should change the upper society. And right now there's a real desire to hold on to this idea of the 50s Christmas. We get back to Santa and his Coke, and we get back to the sort of the perfect holiday, the perfect tree, the perfect thing. Anything that threatens that reality is very frightening to our community.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so they need to hear Christmas because they need to know everybody around them is like them. And if somebody else is different from them, they're just in this triggered state because they're afraid of losing all that. Because they're going to, because it's all changing at a pretty rapid pace. Mm-hmm.
But it's pathetic in a way, because if they actually went around to everyone's house, everyone's different. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you do; they do something else, and it's just it breaks down to little things. Mm-hmm. Like me and Kayla, when we first met, we both celebrate Christmas, but
very
different ways.
Yes.
My family does not believe on opening anything before Christmas morning.
And we open everything on Christmas Eve. So.
See, and my family's right in the middle of that. We open we go to Mom and Dad's for Christmas Eve, open their presents, and then we open our presents Christmas morning at our house. So we're like right in the middle. Yeah. But you're right. Every family is different. Every family has their own traditions.
Well, and the thing is then when you become a sub-family, so like you're taking Cole's family and his family traditions, my family and my family traditions, well, we mesh somewhere in between now. So we'll do something to where, like, on Christmas Eve, they'll open, like, one gift from us while we do the whole night before Christmas and all that stuff. And then Christmas morning, they'll do all the other gifts because that comes from his side where this comes from mine. And we make our own tradition out of it where it's a mesh between the two.
And then your kids will take those traditions
and make their own mesh between them and their significant others. Yeah.
So I think you got a very well-rounded answer, Barry. Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I will say Merry Christmas to you. Yeah. They're words, but they all mean the same thing.
May the quarks be with you.
They all do. They're all good. They're all good tidings.
So let me offer my kids love the fact that we started opening our presents on Yule, just because we could. Okay. And because grandma and grandpa, I had a very traditional family, and they would go back to school the next day, and they said, "Oh, you've already opened your present?" Yeah, we're not. Yeah, the kids would always be so jealous of them because they got to open so early. So
I used to do that for Hanukkah kids. I was like, "What?
Same.
8 nights? What the hell?"
Yeah.
All right. So we have about 10 minutes for the first break. Kayla, did you have a question?
No, I don't.
What? Yes, you do. Answer something. Don't be like that.
I really have nothing. My brain is
okay.
Mush.
I'll throw one in here. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Die Hard.
Scratch that off.
I knew something.
Die Hard. I knew.
Die Hard is my favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Ho ho ho! Now I have a machine gun too.
You know,
last year on the guy's shirt.
Last year, I would have agreed with you. Last night, I was introduced to a new one, and it's called Claus. It's a cartoon, and that is now one of my favorite ones.
Claus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other one will always be White Christmas.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Let's see. I'll shoot your eye out.
A Christmas
story. Yeah.
Oh, the Christmas Story.
Christmas Story. I like Miracle on 34th Street too.
I gotta say, mine is It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Barry?
That's a hard one. If you go back to the old ones, everything that has all the great movies that I have all have spirits in them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're talking about It's a Wonderful Holiday or It's a Wonderful Life with Clarence in it, or if you go to the Christmas Carol or all of those things. And, those are the basic holiday stuff that we grew up with. I remember watching all those shows with Mom and Dad and all the old stuff that they were, it was a very wholesome type of Christmas. Those were the things that we did in the 60s, and we all sat around and watched those movies, and they all had spirits in them. And it was interesting because it is being in the paranormal and doing the things we do in the paranormal. It is so interesting of how Christmas affects the paranormal. Also, it seems like we have a lot of activity in those during Christmas time. Also, the spirits seem to be a lot more active.
Well, that's what they always talk about, the spirit of Christmas, right?
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Ed?
I love the Dickens story, the Scrooge story, the Christmas Carol.
Yes.
I will seek it out in almost any version, Scott. I love it. And the Ghostbusters, when they captured all the ghosts and destroyed their history, they went back in time. I mean, Scrooge story is constantly retold over and over again. And I think that is, if you want to talk about a spirit, he's just persistent to get everybody to understand this story. And it changes people. It's a story that changes people. And there's even movies about it changing them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
It's a permission movie. It gives you permission to be, no matter how bad you are, it says you can change. This one day you can change, and everybody will accept it.
I still like the original, the black and white version of it.
Oh, it's breathtaking. It was brilliant for its age.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and you see the horror genre coming in more and more every year with the slasher Christmas movies and the. But they have
to go back to the original for that.
But they have to be there. Yeah,
mm-hmm. Black Christmas has been around
right.
forever.
Again, the yin and yang.
Right.
There
the
has
dark
to be
side
the
and the light
bad.
side. Right.
Even Yule had its dark side. It had the Christmas cat.
Oh yeah.
Which was
Christmas cat. You've got the Christmas witch. You've got
Yeah.
And again, and we're not going to go into that a whole lot. I mean, we've beat that up for the last 2 years on this show.
Yeah, you've got.
So
you've got another one,
show.
Future. You got a Futurama. The Futurama Santa is terrifying. He goes around killing people.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like some crazy Weird Al version. Yeah.
Xmas Santa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's scary. I hate saying it, but that's like 2020 Santa. Like he just comes out like pistols blazing. That would be scary.
So, how have UFO sightings been this week? Or the last 2 weeks, Barry?
Insane.
Insane?
Yeah, insane. Again, we're getting a lot of orbs and also the triangles. These orbs, after I did that radio show last week with Patrick Jackson and Stephen Colburn, my gosh, it seemed like everything became orb related. And we've had a lot of them this week. I've had 3 in the last 2 days, which is unusual. And I'm getting a lot of pictures of orbs from other people who are not reporting. But on the reports from MUFON and so forth, we've gotten 3 within the state of Kentucky, all around areas that seem to be having heavy activity. It's still in the area between Louisville and Cincinnati, and it's over by the Berea area in central Kentucky, right by the Bluegrass Army Depot. And also just north of me here in the Mammoth Cave area and Bowling Green area.
Oh. Hey, do you get a lot of reports coming in on Christmas Eve?
Actually, I do not. I don't. Unless there is someone out there smoking a cigarette and they see something unusual. You know, that's the only time that it's always a smoker.
Right. See, I wonder because, like, I would think that because I know a lot of people that'll go out and they'll look for like Santa Claus's sleigh, which is why I was wondering if it showed
more
up
eyes in the sky.
Yeah, because of that.
I'm getting a lot of Starlink reports. People not knowing what those are. Those
right.
trails,
Right.
and they're all big. I'm getting a lot of those because people are being triggered by those.
Yeah. Starlink is definitely confusing to a lot of people because it looks like they're all on one line, and depending on where they're located and how they're going across their pathway, you know, people say we're being invaded, you know, and but you won't be seeing very many of those because Musk is now coated them with some kind of anti-glare so that it's not going to be glare. So the only ones you'll see is the ones that are up early until they get into the position where they're supposed to be. And why they are still roaming around, I'm not too sure. So I guess they're looking for a satellite to get close to.
You know, on that note, it was a couple of years ago. It was Christmas Eve, and a whole bunch of the families gathered at my one brother's house. And you know, I'm a sky watcher, and I knew that the ISS was coming over the space station, and it was going to be right over the top of us. And it was Christmas Eve, and it was flying by maybe about an hour after dark. And I thought it'd be great for all of it because there was probably 6, 7 of the little ones, you know, from 6 years old and down. I told them all to come outside. A bunch of the adults come outside, and if you look, you're going to see Santa Claus coming. He's going to come from the north. It was great. I knew exactly where it was coming from. I said, you watch, you're going to see Santa Claus go by. And they all wigged out because I knew exactly what time and when he was coming by, and everybody watched it fly over. And there was a couple of the adults in the group that kind of went, what was that? How did you know it was coming by? I just smiled at him and went back in the house.
And then the 800
The kids loved it. The kids loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I still want to know why NORAD can track Santa but can't track UFOs.
How do you know NORAD's not tracking UFOs?
That's the question. They're sure not telling you and me about it.
Well, every year I have my kids make a phone call. I have Santa Claus in my phone.
Oh, yes. You know what? I did that for the kids last year.
And for our listeners, I'm going to give you guys the number right now. So it's 1-951-262-3062. And of course, Santa is a busy man, so you're going to get his voicemail, but your kids can leave a voicemail for Santa Claus and let him know what they want or if they've done anything bad.
Oh, like they're going to tell him that. Uh-huh.
Right. But it does make your kids be really good for the whole month of December when they know you have him on speed dial.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yes. Calling Santa.
Yep. And you make sure you put Santa Claus or St. Niklaus in that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
even got his photo in it. It added it.
Oh, huh?
I didn't put his photo on there. When I put the number
That's
in,
cool.
it added his photo.
Awesome.
That's cool. All right, so on that note, we will go ahead and take our first break, and we'll come back. We will carry on Roundtable.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
And welcome back to S4, where we're having our Christmas Roundtable. And so in keeping with the UFO theme, which we ended last, this has been, so looking at the video that you sent me before the show, Barry.
Yeah.
It kind of baffles me in that they act like USOs are something new.
They do, don't they? But, you know, when you talk about the news, it's come a long way when you get somebody that is a UFO believer.
Right.
You know?
All right.
Because the media has shot it down so many times. But now, because of Congress, because of everything else that's coming out, and the government is releasing some weird things, and they always seem to release them during the strangest times that we're going through. You know, so they kind of skate underneath everything. Don't you think so?
Well, it disturbs not the right word. It doesn't disturb me. What does baffle me is they were predicting this big disclosure in 2017 with the New York Times release.
Yes.
And of course, you got more in 2018. You got a little, tidbit in 2019. 2020, we have the Jumanji year, and the Pentagon comes out and says, "Hey, we have a crashed craft that's not from this world," and nobody even flinches.
Right.
Well, they've been building them up for years. I mean,
what? But I guess my question is, what do we expect in 2021? They've already disclosed. What do you see happening in 2021?
Disclosure has already happened, if you really want to look at it, because what has the government done? And now you've got a Congress that is sitting back, actually having inquiries about the nature of these things, and are they a national threat to our security?
But they asked the same damn question in 1969 with Blue Book.
Yes, they did. They did. But it was all, Blue Book was kind of, you had Project Grudge, Project Sign, Project Blue Book, all of the same. You had Keyhole, you had all of them out there and into it. But, what happened is that we're not ready for that secret. And I've talked about that before in the show, where I've talked to people who have gone into their last days of life on Earth, and they decide, I want to talk, and then all of a sudden they get over there and go, "You can't handle the truth." And it makes it the most scariest thing in the world when you hear that.
I've always thought it's fear of the unknown. So when we don't know about something, when we have no idea about something, you always got the fear that it's going to be something terrible, because that's like built into us. That anything we don't understand, anything that's different, anything that's unique is scary and it's terrible. So we automatically go to, like, these are warring aliens, they're going to come, they're going to invade us, things like this. But I think as time goes on and it becomes more of a daily conversation topic for people, as it becomes more of a acceptance of it, we've gone further away from it being scary and more of it being a possible positive.
So, or not so much that it's scary. Like in the 1950s, everyone was terrified of it.
Right.
But it's part of culture now. There's UFOs and little green men everywhere. Right. They're in the cartoons, they're in the movies. Everybody's used to it. There's the TV shows. There's Ancient Aliens have been on for 20 years, and all the other shows. And it's not so much people are afraid anymore. Now it's people want to know. Mm-hmm. Give me specifics.
So I think if a UFO basically made itself revealed, right, and it says, "Don't shoot us, don't shoot us," I think people would be in the streets to keep our governments from shooting at it if it wanted to show itself in such a broad way. I think we want more than that in our society. We don't want disclosure. We want contact. I deal with that all the time. Everybody's really craving contact.
Right. Yes, and even the abductees are talking more about coming out more and more, talking about contact, getting together to institute that. The whole thing about a CE5 now is about that Greer brought back. Greer's working on some other earth-shaking stuff. I saw a video from him with the guy with the triangle that came out, and this article that was released just recently about and what the video was talking about was about a pilot using his cell phone and taking a picture of a triangle craft coming out of the water going straight up.
Right.
You know,
So
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying, though, is I think that we've been having disclosure from the first time that we started talking about extraterrestrials, the first time we started talking about UFOs, and it is slow disclosure over the years, and we have incorporated it into to where now it's a topic that you can bring up without getting that ridicule about. And the more that we accept it, the more likely we are to actually get that first contact to where we've accepted them enough to where we're ready to meet them. And I think that's what disclosure has been doing, is it's just been getting us ready throughout years and years to the point where now we're okay with them. Let's see them.
I think Close Encounters of the Third Kind was really the first movie attempted disclosure. What do you think?
Oh, and that was based, and that was based on kind of like the Serpo papers, if you will, and that, and if you ever looked into those papers, even though they are older now and haven't done too much with them, but they're pretty amazing, you know, if you're looking at what's going on. And you know, I'm still concerned about this risk of how they're trying to pitch it as, I guess, you know, back in 2003 when Carolyn Roslin was on the stage for the disclosure movement with at the press, and she goes, you know, and the fifth, you know, she's talking about Walter Rumbaum, and she's talking about all the things that he had told her, and she says the fifth and the final thing is the alien threat. And then when TTSA comes out and they do their shows on the History Channel, and everything is the alien threat. The alien threat. So, and what's Congress now looking at? The alien threat. And, you know, we all know. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, they're not worried about aliens, they're worried about threat. Yeah. You know, and you know, it's ridiculous, and it gives it an opportunity to actually become another false flag or send us in another area that could be a serious problem. Because
now,
you can't tell us
there's people that are saying there is no threat. There is no threat. It's alien threats, all you know, smoke and mirrors. But I've listened to contact stories from people for the last 20 years where they say they're peacefully sleeping in their beds at night, and these things come in the room, and they take them away and do all these horrible experiments to them, and then they, you know, that's kind of a threat.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned. So all the people saying there is no threat is like, haven't you been listening to all these stories? I mean, they may not come down and blast, you know, the Empire State Building and take over all the cities and stuff, but anybody sneaking into my house at night uninvited, that's a threat.
Oh, yeah,
you know, it's kind of odd, because on this threat type thing, when you have certain abductees, and you're looking at two different types of, they explain two different types of abductions. You know, some get downloads, or intelligence goes up and everything else, but at the same time, they are getting another type of abduction, which I like to call the MyLabs, and which is known as a MyLab. Kind of like, you know, if they were, or they did have the information that you are an abductee, as was believed in 54 or 55, back when President Eisenhower had the secret meeting. But, you know, when you think about that, is the military wanting to know what is going on, and are they abducting and doing things to you? Because what happens? We become monitored. There are so many abductees that talk about a monitoring system. So many things that are, like, okay, I'm having this. I'm having black helicopters. I'm having odd ringing in my ears from beaming. Are they beaming me or something? Are they trying to follow me to see what's going on? And it's all the stuff that happens as an investigator and everything else. I mean, I personally experienced it myself when I've been on cases. So it's kind of weird.
Is that more of a human threat to the abductees than it is an alien?
No, is it an animal warden situation where they really don't take into consideration of the animal when they're investigating it?
Right.
We do it to sea turtles. We do it to bears. We do it all the time.
I don't
grab them out of.
Right.
I don't think that either of those are the case. I honestly believe in the yin and the yang, where there's good, there's evil. And in any society, in any culture, in any higher being, there has to be the good and the bad. So there has to be somebody that's going to abduct you for good reasons, for giving you information, technology, different things like this.
Right.
And there's also got to be the warring, where they want to know what you know. They want to test why your arm does this when they poke this button. Okay, I think that just like in the human race, where there are scientists that will do horrible experiments on animals, there's also scientists that try to help them in every way possible. I think it's the yin and the yang. There's always got to be evil and there's always got to be good.
Well,
a little of both.
It goes right back to, we know some abductees have had cancers cured. Some abductees, look at Travis Walton, that was accidentally killed. They brought him up, they fixed him, they returned him.
Mm-hmm.
You have the good stories, you have the horrific negative stories, and you have the people that don't come back.
And I don't think it's so much
I was
on
just
the
going to say that the people that don't come back.
Yeah, and I don't think it's so much on the different races as it is on their actual ability to either be a good person in this race or a bad person in this race. It's what they've been raised to do or how they've been taught.
Actually, so you're literally...
Everyone needs to stop asking for disclosure for right now. They need to stop asking for them to show themselves, because it's freaking 2020 and this is not going to go well.
No.
We need to just slow it down a little bit. Wait till things even out and we start seeing some of that yin again before the yang comes.
Asking for disclosure is kind of like playing with a Ouija board. You never know what you're going to get.
Right.
He likes a box of chocolates. Oh, but, so we talked about TTSA in Congress and all them saying, "Oh yeah, the alien threat," which they know more than we do, obviously. But then you got Stephen Greer. Right. Oh, aliens are wonderful.
Okay, but that's where I'm saying, okay, so if you take the average American back in the 70s and you say, what do you think of Russians? Okay? Anybody who's never met one is going to say, oh, they're horrible, they're awful, they're going to come, they're going to invade, they're going to take us over, they're these terrible people.
But they make great cabbage soup.
Exactly. But if you actually met the people of that race, hey, there's good people, there's bad people.
Wait, we have them here in Skagit County. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
But
it's all about how you've been taught to perceive something.
I still stand by Stockholm Syndrome.
Well,
I do.
Okay, but here's the thing. No matter
hey,
what
Tim,
happens,
how you doing? Tim's in the chat room.
Oh, hey, Tim.
They are going to be a threat. And it's because of us.
That's because
we are a threat.
Oh, we are a threat. We're a warring race.
Every time we touch something as a human race, we make it threatening.
Yeah, look at the atomic bomb back in the 40s and 50s.
So let's be honest. We live in a consumptive universe. Everything eats something.
Exactly.
And the fact is that if you believe in the dark forest theory, why we haven't been contacted yet is because there are predators out there, and that the universe is constantly creating a bigger and bigger threat to itself. You see it in the stars, you see it in the organized matter. So there's everything you say, no matter if these are the best aliens or the worst aliens, there's still the race that is basically threatening us by not making themselves disclosed. Period. It doesn't matter how good or bad they are as individuals, how bad or good they treat the animals. What you just described was chimpanzee and ape studies. We go from testing makeup onto them to teaching them how to sing sign language. It's still all the same spectrum. They're all legal researchers. None of them are evil. They're just being told what to do. So, throwing something up our butts to test our temperature is no worse than testing makeup. And trying to teach us how to understand higher attitudes is no different than teaching Coco how to speak sign language.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's all about what you have been taught to do and what you think is acceptable as far as doing.
Absolutely. Okay,
so we have a race. So we have aliens above us that have all these attitudes that are doing this.
That gives me something to think about, and I'll throw it out on the table. Okay, we've got Space Force, where we've got the satellites up there who are, which supposedly are watching for nukes that can knock down nukes and other thing else, and other satellites, exactly. Right. But let's talk about how difficult it is to knock down. I mean, look, if Russia or China or Iran or whoever is going to throw up nuclear missiles at us, do you think that we're going to be able to stop every one of them? It takes too many. No. I mean, and the type of technology they've got up there is not that strong to be able to rapidly be able to lock on and do that kind of stuff.
Right.
So what if it goes the other way and they are trying to protect us from vehicles that are trying to enter space that are not good?
They're doing a crappy job because we see them all the time.
Well, they're just starting out, At least they're trying to do something if that's what goes on. Yeah, I'd be mad if they thought there was a threat and they didn't do anything.
Okay, so are you basically saying that Starlink, is like the wall between the U.S. and Mexico then? So we're just creating a global border and not allowing anybody in or out?
No, Starlink is its own entity. Based on greed, 5G, and everything else. What I'm saying is that I believe in the theory that possibly there is already a connection that goes from Earth to space and can affect every one of us. It could affect different things, and these orbs may be part of them. And I brought the light kind of that the other day, and I started thinking about it, and I can see that actually being a force to deal with.
Well, so there already.
Can I give you
Go ahead.
Yep.
So let me give you an insight into Iridium/Starlink, because Iridium was originally started to broadcast internet to us by Bill Gates. But at the end of the day, when they finished laying it out, it was supposed to be a grid where you detect anything that passes from the surface of the Earth to space. So when Starlink is completed, there's no way anything is supposed to be detectable that can't be detected through that link field.
Right.
So I see. So we'll test this idea. This will be the next step. But I think, of course, they're working with energies. We have half the world can't pick up half the United States planes because they're stealth planes. I mean, are they because they're crap? Is it because the stealth planes don't exist, or because they have crappy radar? If these people are even just 100 years ahead of us, they're going to have stealth technology that's going to blow us away.
Yes. But at the other side of this fence is, are we already 100 years ahead of our own selves and we don't know about it?
Ooh,
absolutely.
I like that.
No, so I just looked up there. There used to be, and you probably know the name of it, there used to be a project that was kind of like a space fence or a space wall.
Right, the space grid.
Yeah. That they started setting up, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's been a space command since a long time. And then Reagan had that other thing.
Yeah,
yes, exactly, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the second we thought that there could be a potential threat from anywhere outside of our world, we started defending ourselves to a possibility of a threat outside of our world.
Right.
So, and to be perfectly honest, if these ETs are as technologically advanced as they would need to be in order to travel that many light years to see us and to have their ships here, then they have technologies that we haven't even fathomed yet. So no matter what wall we put up there, no matter what grid we put up there, if they are going, let's say they are using quantum tunneling and placement to be able to come to us at any given point in time,
they're going to attack before we even know they're here.
They're going to get here no matter what defenses we put up there.
Yeah.
But we need to do this because we're a society that needs to feel like we can protect ourselves. Like we have a fighting chance in the fact that we can, we can destroy that, or we have the ability to do this. It's all about our comfort and making us think that we're secure, even if we're not.
No. How do you build a workforce? If we're speeding up, are they heading us for a workforce? This is to be honest, I'm a big believer in the singularity by Ray Kurzweil, and our technology is increasing. I live in an exponential world of every 18 months, memory gets cheaper, computer gets faster, social media changes. We're doing what we can do right now. This podcast fascinates me. We're in multiple areas with everything else, and it's practically for free, where 10 years ago, when I tried to do this, it was going to cost me over $200 an hour.
Right.
Right.
That's a big jump in technology.
It is.
Yeah. And I'm using my phone through a computer service that has nothing to do with AT&T. Unimaginable 20 years ago.
Right. Well, I grew up with giant floppy disks in the, you had to...
Commodore 64 was my first computer.
AOL online disks that you could get 5 hours for free. So, yeah, it's definitely come a long ways. In just the last 15 years, we have come hundreds of years in technology.
Imagine we'll be in 10.
And yet we don't feel it. Most people tell you they don't feel any different than they did 20 years ago.
Right, it's just another accessory. So instead of having your old Rolex watch on, now you have your phone that you can pull out and it tells you what time it is. It's just an upgrade to things that we've always had, and we don't see it as being 100 years advanced. We see it as being what's happening next week.
Yep.
So, are we being bred as warriors? I've asked this question so many times. If they're not there, are we being bred as warriors? Speeding us up so we can go and fight some more. And that's in the Anunnakis. And we see that in so many different places in ancient texts.
You're right. 100%.
Yeah. So are they now speeding us up to prepare us for the actual contact now that they need us? Building us reserves. Now, we're 7 billion people, and we got there fast. We took a long time to get to a billion, but now we got a 7 billion. But more importantly, we can throw off 1 billion people a year and 500 million people a year for a war front and replace them relatively quick.
Yeah, well, that's the way people are. Maybe that's the way we were bred, if you want to think of it that way. Everybody likes peace. Everybody wants to have an easy way of doing things, but almost everybody has it within them to go medieval on somebody. Yeah. People love fighting.
Basically, that we're organic, self-replicating robots, and that we are specifically bred for one thing, and that's what they're going to use us for. Is that what you're saying on that?
Exactly. We're building our own weapons. If an alien force could come in here, we've all agreed that we can't defeat them. But they can go, wow, you guys did a great job, load it up into the super carriers and carry us to the next planet where they're having their wars. Mm-hmm. That would be a very deadly type of idea. It's a very physical one. So if we're not talking about a spiritual or entities that become more energy, we're really talking about Christopher Columbus in Europe coming on to the Indians with just a little bit more technology.
Right.
500 years? It doesn't have to be that big a gap. It could literally be Europeans coming and conquering the Americas. They're just setting us up to gather our assets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what asset is there on Earth? We have more things in the, we have asteroids that have more gold and more things out there than the national worth of the world. So what do they have here to come to? They have DNA, correct?
That's correct. That's the only
people
thing that really
and water.
Yeah, so it makes you really think about that in a dark way, and look at all the technology that has came up. Look at how fast the technology and the internet and all of the things that we're talking about have moved up. That has shot straight up in the air, while other things around us have not.
Right, but I mean, on that same concept, then, if you take one human being and you place them on a world, just like when we came and we settled different lands, okay, wouldn't it be more of a biological warfare than anything else? Because all of these alien planets would not be used to our diseases or anything like that. So wouldn't just taking one of us and placing us there give them horrible diseases?
War of the Worlds.
Right.
Give them all cold.
We would be the blankets with the measles.
Exactly.
And so that's depending that life is exactly like we are in our DNA.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
There's XNA, there's a couple of different choices. But yeah, they could do that. More likely, we're actually, if you really want to send us out, we know what we are. We're climate wreckers. We're planet wreckers. Let's just send us there and say colonize. We're like an infestation. Give us equipment, give us colony, and we're pumping poisonous gases into the atmosphere to build the weapons to fight the aliens off. I mean, if you really look at it, we are really built to be conquerors.
So basically, we're just giving a planet lice.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you're
We
high
are
enough
the
organism,
cockroaches.
this has been one of those feelings I've had. I've had an alien experience that's left me with this feeling. Yeah, that's left me with it. And I was young and stupid, so I never really talk about it. But I've had this feeling most of my life. I'll be honest with you. That we're heading for space and we're heading for it fast. I mean, there's conspiracy stories around Elon Musk about him getting a lot of free technology, that doesn't seem to make any sense. He's really jumped.
He has. And look at the other odd things about it is that, you talk about the technology jump and everything else. I mean, it makes perfect sense when you start putting it all together, because somehow they're accessing, just like Tesla did, someone else, Einstein did. They all talked about accessing a area. Now, is that universal consciousness? What is that? And somehow they are getting that information to them, and is it from visitors? So. We talk about the aliens, and we talk about different types of aliens. We've done it several times on the show. And what's the sign for the Greys? Is there a sign for the Greys?
A symbol? Not that I'm aware of.
Honestly, it would be their face. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
The second you
would
see
it not be a triangle, three circle with three circles and a triangle?
I've seen I've seen so many different symbols. I have a hard time putting them together. I'll have to do some research on that.
Why does NASA use it and all the other ones use it? Do you have to have a pass to go into space?
Okay, so I got a weird question then, because I know that all of you have seen Star Trek. Okay, so do you think that with our technological advancements and everything that we've been pushing towards, that we in turn have made ourselves into the beginnings of the Borg?
No.
This is my big...
We're way too individual. That's what made the Borg scary, is it was all one mind. And we would fight tooth and nail against that.
Right, but with the coming of the internet and technology, we have become way more singular-minded than we used to be. It's way easier. Have you been on the internet?
Nobody agrees with anything.
To pull somebody into your opinions than it ever was.
Look at the thing about enlightenment and all this stuff. What do they always talk about? Oneness.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Borg?
Oneness.
Yeah.
So,
we are all one. We are all one being.
Well, and they've already talked about making us into a digital world. Wouldn't making us into actual freaking robot hybrid things be bringing us into that world in a totally different way, but still making us one with technology?
Just because
maybe that's the thing that terrifies the aliens about the humans. They're all a oneness. All the Greys are the same, and all this race are the same, and they're all thinking alike, and they're all on the same page. And they come to this planet, and it's not one race. It's 7 billion individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't figure that out.
They can't defeat that.
Yeah. How are you going to defeat 7 billion individuals?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Whereas you have one organism that's all intact, you only use to defeat the organism, you defeat all 7 billion. But
right,
absolutely. That's why universal consciousness is not a good idea on that aspect.
No, but 2020 turned us into the proto-matrix. We're showing all the signs of entering a proto-matrix, where we're spending most of our time in hyper-realities. Mm-hmm. And people are getting more and more. And this year, 40 million people don't realize we're about to hit a VR world. Within 3 years, there's going to be over 150 million units in the United States. 1 out of 2 people will actually be using VR within the next 3 years. 40 million just start this Christmas. Because it's one of the few things you can actually get for $300, because PS5s and all the other game stations have run out. Only the Oculus is left by Facebook.
Right. Yes.
And so that's 40 million this year. They have another 60 million coming over because they avoided some of the trade wars. So we actually have a big move to be the proto matrix. I'm telling you, people. This is one of the things I tell people right now. There's a big company in Japan, Takayama, went full VR. So the idea of the matrix, of people sitting down, being quiet, is all part of really the climate change movement. Getting as many people into the VR world will do, in the government's mind, a huge amount of good of cheapening up our society and shutting us down. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with that world is coming. I'm not making it up. You can go look these numbers. It's a matter of how we react to it. Mm-hmm. And I think our individual.
You can play with your VR world. I'll be in my Zoom meeting.
Well, see, but this is the thing, is that they give it to you in a way where you almost can't refuse it. Because they take into account, like, any disabilities that a person may have, anything like that, and they make it so that you can go from being a paraplegic that was stuck in a wheelchair to being fully functional in this alternate world.
Okay.
And in Japan, they have a restaurant that does exactly that. The robots are handicapped people who serve people from their homes.
Right.
I can't even watch Call of Duty.
Yeah.
If I can't, if my PTSD doesn't allow me to watch Call of Duty, mm-hmm. I'm not going to work in a VR world.
Let me look that number up. So, as of now, 176 billion people have died in Call of Duty through today, from the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, we're really so this idea of us being individuals is absolutely true. Even in our VR worlds, we have to be fighting. We have to be fighting for our individuality. We do all different games. There's not a single program, anything that can get more than 1 or 2% of the population to pay attention over the long term. So that idea, like you said, the idea that we're so individualized has got to be terrifying.
Like you said, all your VR games and all the Matrix world that people are getting into, it's all warfare. It's like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You don't have 1 million people signing up to go into virtual reality to give flowers to each other and ride unicorns around.
Right.
About 12% of games do that.
Well, what's really interesting is back when I had a short stint where I had to work for Verizon, and they were coming out with an electronic fence to keep your children in, and that was a good thing. They sell it as a helpful tool, just like they do for paraplegics or anything else. Look, this is a great thing.
Did you say electronic fence to keep your kids in?
Yes, that was.
You mean like a cattle fence?
That was it was on your phone. It was on your phone. It was back in 2004, I think, 2005, that it first came in. And then it became the thing for companies to be able to monitor, hey, your truck driver is at Joe's Bar and Grill, and he's been there for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And then it keeps on going farther and farther. And now they have able to control us. I mean, when I get out to my truck in the morning, even though I don't have my locator on, it tells me where in the hell I'm going. And it'll tell me it takes me 15 minutes to get there. And their traffic light, take this route. Right.
Well, not only that, but we also have things like TikTok and Facebook and all these other apps that everybody has that all track location.
Right, but they also are, don't get me started in that as far as what they are, censoring. But it's all crazy. I mean, it's all dictated by some other strange force. I mean, I hate watching a video that says, but behind everything that I ever watch or anything that I look at, if you want to investigate something, you see something that the AP has decided that Biden is a show me. Got a big old thing over here. Every damn video is. And then the AP, what the hell's the AP?
Yes,
who made that god? It is nothing but a collage of different media sources that supply them with reports, and then they report on it. The CEO and the head of the chairman of the board are all in California, and then one runs the Hearst company besides doing this, and the other was Macaulay, and they're all about citizen reform, and the true owner of the AP is the AFL-CIO.
Yes, but on the note of technology, though, we're allowing this to happen by putting in smart light bulbs and by putting in smart systems and all of this stuff that we can all control at the palm of our hand. Why? Because it makes life easier. We've been doing that for years. Ever since the microwave came out, hey, now we have a microwave. We don't need to spend 5 hours cooking this. We can just zap it for 10 minutes. It's all about...
It's all about making your life easy, but as you are doing it, you're
losing yourself in it.
You're losing your freedom to an aspect too, because while you're doing everything from the palm of your hand, how many of that is Bluetooth now, to where anyone can access what you're looking at, what you're controlling? Your
absolutely, social conditioning at the easiest point we've ever been able to have it.
Right.
So can I offer Silicon Valley point of view, because I've been there, and they can explain this, so that you will trade privacy and capital for time. What's Uber? It took out all that waiting time for taxis and made it, exactly where it's going to come. Human beings are instinctively will trade money and privacy and attention for time. Anything that speeds us up, makes it easier for us, we're going to take into it. And it's built into our brains. The opposite of the amygdala, they only have to control 4 chemicals, and it's called neuro advertising. So they can get you there and make you feel like that you're giving you time. It's a rabbit hole. It's one of these things we're going to keep going at it, because we enjoy the time of having more time and less work.
Well, but that's the only thing that we don't have an ample supply of. Everybody dies. Everything comes to an end. So time is the only thing that somebody can offer you that you're willing to trade anything for.
And isn't that an interesting thing? We've been talking about warrior class and waiting for contact. Mm-hmm. Are we about to have enough money to make it worth their while to make that trade? Mm-hmm. Well. Mm-hmm. Right? We're demanding it from healthcare. You just said it. You just said it there. That's we'll give up anything for time. And right now, because of what we talked about Silicon Valley, they know that we will do that. Now,
right.
Somebody comes in and offers us unlimited health. What are we going to give for that? Willingly.
Right. They're talking about, they've had these health beds and everything else that other people were using. They're using, whoa. I mean, and they're just coming out, and they've been out for a long time. but other people are using them. And the most scariest show that I've ever watched recently was Social Dilemma, and it's about the Silicon Valley and what some of these people who, after they invented this stuff and watched where it's going, are scaring themselves to death. That they cause a major hubbub in our society because of what they did and what's going on. And it is a scary movie to watch because you see it. You know, you definitely see that they are controlling you every minute of the day. And people don't like to be controlled, but they don't know they're being controlled.
Absolutely.
I knew the gig was up when I was in the kitchen the other day, and I told a joke, and the toaster started laughing.
Yeah.
So, Joe, what's your next question for tonight?
Oh gosh, let me see. I'm going to have to think about this because actually, you guys burned through my questions in your. Let's see. I've got one here. Let me see. There's one about the Kentucky Rakes. That's not going to work. Okay, you almost touched on. We almost touched on this a little bit earlier. There was the conjunction that's coming up here. I think it's on the 21st between the planets, and people are calling it the Christmas star or whatever. And I was thinking about, what about the original Star of Bethlehem? Getting back on your Christmas theme. Do you think it was a fable or a planet conjunction or a UFO? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's something that they talk about a lot, and it's come down through our society, but what was the Star of Bethlehem?
I'm going to go with planetary conjunction, because that particular one comes every 800 years.
Have they figured out that one happened then? Because, I mean, they can go back in time and figure out when they happen.
So there's two beliefs. There was one that basically you had Mars, the same conjunction with Jupiter and Saturn, but you added Mars, which gave it its much stronger look. You know, they came into conjunction at about that period of time. They're looking at that. That was I always hate doing it, but 31 AD, they saw that was a possibility. But there's one a little bit earlier, much earlier. So that would be the delay of the story. But there's one much earlier. They think there might have been there's a big belief there was a supernova. Yeah, that we got into our sky for a period of 7 to 10 days, because we see it reported in other places in China, in the Persia. The sky-looking people saw that Christmas star didn't show up just in, and that's why they may have grabbed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Israeli, right. But it was seen in China. They all have this record around what was it, 28 BC. I'm sorry if I'm right.
Yeah.
Of a star that went up for 7 to 10 days. Every once in a while we have one of these supernova. And it was a nighttime star. We could see it. We made the day almost, visible, bright as bright as the moon. And so
I kind of like that idea.
And so there's a lot of research. A lot of people that are into that believe that it may have been that sort of one of those supernovas that was like 1,000, like a little more than 1,000 light years away.
So we're talking like a quasar.
An explosion of a star.
Exploding star.
Okay. Right. The predecessor to a quasar. Yes, you have to have You have to have an exploding star to have a quasar. But yeah, early stage, it could have been just a very simple, unstable helium star. They're thinking that this exploded after about 2-3 billion years, and we saw it. And that would be a very powerful, and in that time we would see that as the heavens are everything. We would see that as a very powerful, mystical moment. And regardless if it was the birth of Jesus, they would have added that to the story because it was so universal at the time.
Right, exactly.
So that's it. Now, this conjunction coming up, for paranormal people, I'm saying you should put your buzzers on high. There's a huge amount of energies people are talking about. I know I myself, amongst others, we've been conducting portal draw-ins. So this year we've been pulling in fairy portals, and we've been drawing in spirits for about the last year and a half through some of these astral. And for us, I've known this was coming for a long time. So I'm doing a major change ritual with my tradition. And it's global. We have Zoom and this ritual going all over the place on that time. And our goal is to get the fae and the magical more detectable. And that's our big thing. We want to start having more detection. We want to figure out ways to get them pushed into the reality. not just us in our minds, but out in the space. It's been a big movement for inside some of the paranormal, sort of Wiccan spiritual people.
Even where we have a 300-acre field that is a paranormal hotspot, if you will, because of the building it sits on, octagon-shaped building. Been there for 147 years. But it is, today, when you go out there, there is some kind of charge that's coming into these portals. Because what are we seeing? We were having other people who visit the property or come to the property say, wait a minute, I just saw this dark building and now it's gone. And it's popping up more and more. So the theory of opening portals and those portals being more energized to open makes a lot of sense to me, because we're actually currently right now seeing it. The only problem about a portal is how much energy it draws and how large it gets, and I don't want to be standing on one when it happens.
No.
Yeah.
Seems a fairly...
You know, that's the thing, you know. And normally when we see these things at night, they seem to be a very whitish pale blue. The ground kind of glows that way. Have you seen that in your research?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not only research, but in my effects of areas right now. I had an event, Starwood, in 2019. I was really upset. The short version is I took sacrament, went into the woods, bawling my eyes up. A fae came out with a female fae. They took my eyes out of my head, at least at that moment, cleaned them, returned them to me. The very next morning, I woke up and I went outside and I looked at the trees and they looked so odd to me. And they looked, oh my God, is that green? And then I realized I could see in full color spectrum.
Interesting.
I was kicked out of the Gunner's Mate missile system of the United States because I am double colorblind. I have actually documented. I was double colorblind, and I walked into a phase situation where I walked away with my sight. That was a little over a year and a quarter. It's actually rattled my magical world. It really changed my perspective on the magical Fae world, because I was not a Fae follower, not in a little bit. So this happened to me, and it was spontaneous. Now, I can't prove to you that a Fae did it, but I can prove you that something happened that night that shifted my color vision. And I've been grateful ever since.
Yes.
So for me, and that rattled my world. However you want to explain it. I have had people try to explain it in all different ways. It still was an inner experience that I had. And I think people are starting to have more of those inner experiences with these spirits. And if that's true, and when we see that true, it's going to increase the amount of spirits crossing back. I think that people want the spirits to cross back.
Yes.
And that intention in a quantum universe makes it us an observer theory. So I think
interesting.
I think the dead are coming back. I think 2021. I'm telling you, I'm saying 2021 next Halloween, after this very strange Halloween that a lot of spirits were denied their energy, that high energy being, full moon and everything else. I think the dead, the spirits of the dead, the spiritual ancestors, are unrattled, and they're unrattled inside us, not with the spirits. And I think we've become a big magnet. I think a lot of people are trying to contact their ancestors. I think we're seeing a big magnet and a big move in that supernatural world.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with that also. I do agree with that 100%. I can see that happening.
And this conjunction is going to feel like permission to start feeling more like that. From the sort of neurolinguistic programming side, I think.
Don't you think you might have two different things happening at the same time, and you're connecting them?
Oh, sure.
The planets are lining up. That's one thing, and then all the supernatural world is opening up, or whatever. That's something maybe completely different. I remember back, I think it was like 1981, where it was on the news, where all the planets pretty much lined up. They were all on one side of the solar system, and they all lined up. And I don't remember anything weird happening back then when that happened. And that was all the planets.
So when it comes to the magical, anytime there's an eclipse, anytime there's an astronomical event, those are high energy times. So.
Oh, there's an eclipse coming up. It's going to be, you'll only see it full down in South America. It's the next couple days, I think.
The 16th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anytime you have a magic practitioner, those are high energy times where you're gonna do magic, without getting into too much detail. But just like Ed was talking about, a lot of his practitioners are getting together for rituals and for change, for transformation. These are high energy times. Along with the normal Sabbath days that we practice on.
So this is like...
I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Oh,
I was going to
nothing.
say, do you think with everything that's going on in the world right now and with people, there's a lot of people that are at home, so they have more time now than they had before, and a lot more people are looking into different things than they would have before. So do you think that energy that's changing from them actually being able to kind of put themselves into a new world that they haven't had a part of before is also adding to everything that's going on and happening?
I'm going to add to that too, because people have more time to research. People have more time to connect with other topics they may have wanted to connect and didn't have time for before. But while people think they have to have human contact and human connection all the time, how many have had even more connection through Zoom meetings, through webinars, through and they don't understand. Yeah, they can't touch their friends, but they're still having a contact with Zoom meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, the way you just reached towards me, you shouldn't be touching your friends like that.
You're so silly. Oh.
Right, but I mean, I over the course of the last year, I've seen a lot of people go more into are discovering magic for the first time, are discovering different ways of doing things for the first time, and are dabbling in things they would have never dabbled in had they not had the extra time to do.
That can be so dangerous sometimes. But yeah, I think Ed would agree with me on that one.
Maybe that's what the lockdowns are. They're making us sit home and think about stuff.
Actually, this is so. This was really good for the year for Witch School. We had a lot more students next year because we think it's going to be another COVID year. We're actually organizing a teaching more people. We just had a record. We just had a census came out and said there are 2 million people who see themselves as a witch in America.
Right.
And that's close to making them the third largest religion in the United States. Mm-hmm. But they're scattered still. They're all different groups. My group being the largest is only like 300,000 actually people held together. And so they're all scattered out there, so they don't act as a cohesive force. But the number of people, and it's almost 90% of it, comes off the internet. The internet is breeding the magicians more than we've ever seen. Under practice, plenty of books, grabbing websites. It's chaotic, hot mess, but you are seeing a real resurgence of occult and magic through the internet.
Which is good and bad, because it's bad in that as long as they're and excluding witch school, but as long as they're taught properly and they're not opening doors they shouldn't be opening, and things of that nature. The insurgence of new magical practitioners can come at a cost.
Oh, no question. Look at the bindings, the embarrassment, and maybe they see it as succeeding, the binding Trump rituals for over the years.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was where one of the biggest areas of growth. It was over binding and hexing, which is almost something we don't want to teach. We don't, we teach higher orders, but we don't teach the basics in that, because there's a responsibility to that stuff. Even if it's all nonsense, I tell these people all the time, you still want the thought leads to the action.
It's
so you want to at least have but when it happens, you want to have a good moral ethic. But we had just thousands and thousands, almost maybe 1 million, young women casting binding, and gentlemen too, casting binding spells on Trump.
Right.
You know, did it have an effect? We don't know, but it's how they interpret it. But that was kind of dangerously stupid, in my opinion. Some of it.
Oh, absolutely. It is more than dangerously stupid in that it angers me just the fact that it went to the media, because just bringing it to the media gives all witches a bad light.
Exactly.
You know, look how much repercussion will come back or came back from non-pagans going, oh my God, no, we got to pray even more for Trump now because all these witches are putting a curse on him. And no, now you cause a religious war.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the basis of a religious war. This is what happens: is that somebody gets the wrong information, so they act on it, and then they are met with the opposition.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So with that, it is time for our last break of the night, and when we come back, we'll cover our third hour, or last hour, of S-4 Christmas Roundtable.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
You break, you're going down.
S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
And welcome back to S4 for our final hour of Roundtable. Oh.
It's fun but fast, though. This
It
has
is.
been crazy.
It's
I
already
like
last
it.
hour.
I like it.
So, Ed, what's your next question tonight?
So I want to take us back to Christmas.
Okay.
And what's become one of the most unnerving phenomena to me, Elf on the Shelf. Literally, we're inviting elves into our houses to spy on our children. This is fake propaganda if I've ever seen it. And people also, you're starting to see a rise in Annabelle stories and other sort of haunted stories.
Yeah, I hear
How
about
long
them all the time.
How long before people are reporting to you Elf on the Shelf haunted events? How long before we start seeing them becoming part of the possessed and the sort of hauntings and things of that nature?
I am waiting for the horror movie.
The Elf on the
There
Shelf.
is going to be a horror movie, and I already got the slogan for it. Little brother is watching.
Oh, God.
Okay.
All right.
Are we making it? S4 Productions. There
Oh,
we go.
yeah. And it would be Krampus's elves instead. Oh, I like it.
But
So how
Elf on the
about
Shelf, we
Krampus?
are invited. Yeah.
Huh?
I'm sorry, what?
I was saying, we are
There is a
invited-
powerful thing with manifestation also.
Yeah.
We can, and creating a topa, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, your elf on the shelf was supposed to spy on you and rat you out if you did anything bad, right? And tell Santa everything you did. Well, isn't that what
you're
our
a little
cell phones are doing now?
mischievous.
But that's
Yeah.
what our cell phones are doing now. They're telling everybody where we're at, and they could listen in on us and track us.
Okay, but at the
Your
same
phone
time,
is the elf
he
on
was-
the shelf.
The original idea of Elf on a Shelf is, yes, he did report back to Santa. It wasn't just the bad things, though. That's all anyone ever thinks about, and that is our negative mindset again. He also reports the good things that you do. That's the thing. But at the same time, it's his first time away from the North Pole, so he gets into a little bit of naughtiness himself. That's why every night when you go to sleep, you catch him in the morning doing something he shouldn't be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But how many YouTube channels geared towards our kids are showing Elf? I mean, I hear Cheyenne and Anthony talking about, or mostly Cheyenne, but talking about how awful Elf on a Shelf is because it's a possessed doll. And that's what the YouTube channels are portraying it as.
Yeah, and Netflix just came out with that Elf on a Shelf Christmas special.
But that's also because of the type of YouTube channels we honestly allow our kids to watch.
Yeah, our kids are all...
When we allow them to watch creepypasta,
Uh-huh.
that kind of feeds into that. yes, they're featuring that, but they're not geared towards kids.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not geared towards normal kids.
No, I'm not talking about creepypasta. I'm talking about some of the...
Oh, for sure. But you got to admit that our kids are definitely not what you would consider as a normal child.
And they're not looking at kids when they make those channels. They're not looking at kids those age. That Timmy's Playhouse thing or whatever it is, the little inventor guy. He doesn't talk about that. He talks about what his Elf on the Shelf does every day of the year or every day of December, and his is actually quite funny. Mm-hmm. That's more geared for kids our kids' age.
Yeah.
Right.
When it talks about a possessed doll, that's more geared towards my older kids' age.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It depends on what you allow your kids to watch.
So when are they going to come out with the Christmas Annabelle?
So there is actually a thing
Right,
going on
that's-
around
yeah.
Facebook that says it's the Mattel released the 2020 Barbie because they have a new Barbie for every year.
Right.
And it's a really creepy, old-looking babushka doll.
Does it have a mask on?
No.
Oh.
But, like, it looks like the ultimatum of possessed dolls.
Right.
And it's the
My
new
favorite
Barbie.
was Trailer Park Barbie.
But, like...
Pregnant, had tattoos, you know.
That's honestly the thing is we've got people in this world that are kind of
When you focus your energy on the thing, it's like I said, when we focus our energy on a thing, and it's not the kids that are worried that we worry about, because that's the first thing that a paranormal team wants to go help. If a kid is under a threat, that's the first thing that we do. We are there on Johnny on the spot. And the bad thing about Elf on the Shelf is, excuse me. But, it's like going, it's what we create. It's what our energy creates. It's what we do with these darn things. And there's different types of things that are out there that can definitely get into dolls. Dolls have always been one of the most mysterious holdings of spirits that have been there through time. That's one of the things that have gone on forever. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see dolls as very young children worship objects of ancestors. We found some of that from like 11, 12,000 years ago.
Right.
So dolls have been right there as representation of ancestors. They were originally not for children's toys, but for actually holding the spirits of the ancestors.
Exactly.
And then it moved into our common society everywhere. By Egypt, they were having dolls for kids. But the first use of a doll was for the portal of the dead, so they wouldn't disturb the living, so we could talk to them, so they wouldn't attack us. So we created these dolls to talk to them, to prevent them from causing damage to us. Mm-hmm. I tell people that, goes, really? I said, yeah, that's the origin of dolls. And they go, that's so creepy.
Well, look at some of the black and white. Look at some of the black and white photos of dolls. Mm-hmm. From the 1900s. They look creepy.
Oh, I don't need to look at a black and white photo. My grandmother collected dolls, so my entire house as a child was full of those things. Everywhere you looked, there was a doll.
I think porcelain dolls were the worst.
Oh, the best one was the life-size.
My mom collects dolls. She's probably got 300 or 400 of them in her house, and all of them are really old. They're in really good shape, but I mean, they are really, really old, and some of them are creepier than shit.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Kayla's aunt, who was a lovely, lovely woman, bought this life-size doll that would have been about 9 years old. And
oh God, this thing
looked real.
It looked real. Oh
it looked awesome. But when she first got it, she told, as each kid came into the house, she would tell him, "Could you go get something for me out of my room?" And it was standing in the middle of the room. All those kids ran.
Well, they had
hard,
one. My brother tells the story. He was sleeping in the back room at my mom's, and he wakes up and he says, you got to take the batteries out of that one doll. It keeps talking. I could hear it making noise at night. And she says, which one? And they went over and they took it. He says, that one there was talking all night. They looked at it, and it did have batteries, and it had a voice box and everything, but there were no batteries in it.
Mm-hmm. Seen it a lot of times.
Okay, that's it.
I don't know, but one of the most bizarrest things that we have encountered in paranormal is that when you go into these residential homes and you start going around with your EMF meter or your MEL or whatever, and you start getting a hit on these things, and if you remove them from the house, it seems like the paranormal activity stops immediately, which is bizarre in its own right, And so what we have is a lot of people have in the paranormal now have museums set up everywhere. It's like it's the catchword of everything. Of anything that is gotten is out there, and they're touring around with them, which is also what I don't consider to be one of the most sanest things to do either. But
talking about dolls, we had my grandmother, my father's mom, gave us these angel dolls, that moved their heads back and forth. When you press this button, they moved their heads back and forth, and they sang Amazing Grace. Right? And they were kind of cool, and we were little kids, and we used to play with them, and we liked them. Well, this one went nuts, and its batteries started to die. So its Amazing Grace turned into like that garbled stuff. And then its spinning mechanism went out for the head. So this head just started spinning around and it was making all these horrible noises. My dad walks out and he looks at it and he goes, "Oh God!" Picked it up and just like punted it across the room and would not let us go anywhere near it forever. It was insane.
I never had that problem. I didn't have... no.
Well, one of the things that surprised me is how many people actually pick up voodoo dolls and bring them to their house.
Right.
Oh.
Those things are just weird, man. I don't want to have nothing to do with them.
I know about voodoo dolls because I...
Shrunken heads, tribal masks, all that stuff. Nope, keep it somewhere else.
I think I have one.
Voodoo dolls sell by the thousands.
Oh, yeah, they do. They do. And...
Yeah.
Golly.
Look, I saw that movie a long time ago. I don't know how old you guys are. It's called Trilogy of Terror.
Oh, it's that little movie with that little...
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's one of those things. Is like back then there was only 5 channels on TV, so everybody saw it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was that the little tiny doll with the spear that kept stabbing people in the feet?
Yes,
yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
correct. And at the end of the movie, she's kneeling by the door with the knife going into the floor.
She destroyed the doll, and the spirit went into her.
Her, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The one I think is
let's click
just,
dolls.
The one I think of is just called Dolls. You guys remember that one? It didn't make it big. It came out in the 80s, and it was a mansion with 2 old people that, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was a house full of dolls.
Tommy knockers.
I remember that one.
Ugh.
Was there a little guy had a triangular hat, like a screw in his head, and it would turn around, and yeah. Creepy.
Oh, God. Dolls.
So there you go. So is so let's finish this up. So are Elf on the Shelf going to going to add to this sort of doll stories? Are we going to see it?
I do not think
and it sounds
so.
like yes.
Well, but here's the thing. As we've said a lot on this show, intent is everything.
Yep.
When a parent puts out an Elf on a Shelf, the intent is pure. It really is.
And,
it is something wholesome.
So you said that if somebody did a horror movie, that would probably shift.
Yeah.
Well,
I make horror movies out of everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. They make them out of everything. But again, those aren't like
intent.
If they did that, it wouldn't be geared towards a little kid.
Right. But I mean, you can take any Christmas.
You have a chance of getting it no matter what you do because we got messed up people out there.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that will do stuff to those kind of toys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they donate them to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Okay, but people are messed up. They do some horrible stuff.
For me, the Elf on the Shelf, in the house I grew up on, or in, we had some of them, the Elf on the Shelf, but they didn't go on a shelf, and I was never told the story that they were watching us and reporting. As far as I knew, it was a Christmas ornament that went on. You hung it on the tree, and it stayed there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until about 20 years ago that some of the people were talking about Elf on the Shelf. I go, what is an elf on a shelf?
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard the story, and I thought back, and it's like, well, we had him hanging in the tree. He couldn't get around. That's cool.
Right. Well, and I think that's, again, doing the reincarnation of Christmas. Like, you're taking something that has been a part of it forever, but you're giving it a new face.
Absolutely. Mm-mm. All right. So, Barry, what is your next question?
Hanging in with the Christmas stuff, and I'm going back to A Christmas Carol. Out of the 4 ghosts, and there's been many people that have said that spirits have influenced them to change or do something. Out of those 4, Jacob Marley, past, present, and future spirits, which is going to make you change the most?
Ooh. Dying. Me personally, I would have to say
the ghost of Christmas. Oh, go ahead.
Nope, you got it. Go for it, Joe.
No, I was just going to say the ghost of Christmas past. That basically shows you all your regrets, right? Things that, oh man, I should have done this.
Yeah.
And then the ghost of present shows you how am I screwing up now. And then the ghost of the future shows you, well, when you die, it's too late. So it's time to change right then.
Right.
So I think all of them would influence you. I don't think just a single one. I think there's probably not anybody here, either on the panel or listening, that wouldn't love to go back to some point in their life and change something. Mm-hmm. I'm sure everybody's thought of it, but it's too late now.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But
you know who might, I take the fourth one.
Marley?
Jacob Marley. Jacob Marley. That's the guy who would influence me probably the most, because if I have intervention with somebody that I had spent a long time with and everything else, and they come and they start going, you're going to be visited by these 3 people because you're doing terrible things, and I want to show you something, that would probably be the one that I would sit up and take notice to. Wouldn't you guys?
Yeah. Well, it basically is what Dickens was doing. Is he was showing Scrooge, okay, here's somebody you know, and he's going to come bring you a message. If it was a stranger, he wouldn't pay attention. But here's Jacob Marley. Here's a guy that used to be your business partner. You know him. So he's going to tell you something's going to happen, and it starts happening. You're going to believe it.
Yeah, but you also got to think of the 5th one there. And he's not a ghost, per se, but Tiny Tim himself, in the death of Tiny Tim in that movie, makes it so that you understand that, like with Jacob Marley, when he died, all of the past and all the regret and all of the everything that he felt through the stages, that's where his chains came from. And then you see the passing of somebody.
Tiny Tim died?
Yes.
Really? No. Oh, man.
Only in the future.
Only in the future, when the ghost of future...
okay. I see it.
So, but you take him into account, and you take into account the fact that he didn't even stick around as a ghost because he had no chains. Mm-hmm. Right? So that is like a whole nother level of, well, if you're a good person, if you do good, if you are outstanding in this way, then you will pass on without chains of regret.
Makes you wonder what Marley did.
Right.
I honestly think Scrooge died.
You think that was his death?
Yes.
That makes sense, actually.
Well, then who bought the turkey? Or was it a Christmas goose?
It was a goose.
It was a goose. It was England.
To me,
they don't have turkeys.
To me, that was his afterlife.
That was his purgatory.
No, that night was his purgatory. The end was his afterlife.
Okay. I could see that. That's kind of a cool thought.
Huh.
But the one that would make me change is present.
Really?
I think so.
Mine would totally
because that is the moment where I would see something that I wasn't happy with and would figure, okay, I need to change this. Mm-hmm. I can't change the past.
Yeah.
I can't change the future because it hasn't happened yet. But I can change the present.
You can change the present.
Which alters the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Interesting.
Correct. Interesting.
And I would agree with that.
I want to know the Jacob Marley story.
I know they need to do like a offshoot or something and do the Jacob Marley story.
That's a little hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dickens is a little dead.
But
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure somebody could pick it up and.
We can get out a Ouija board. We can bring back Dickens.
And write
give him a pen. Do some automatic writing.
That is way too long of a session.
And so, Jacob Marley was the guy who basically set up for profit the poorhouses, the workhouses, and that Scrooge was his apprentice, and that's how he did. He was a workhouse builder in the stories. and that he basically condemned thousands of people to slavery. At that time.
Yeah.
That was from the magazine version of Scrooge. It was originally what he was doing. It was the criticism of being a workhouse builder. That's one of the things. So that would be a despicable job. And each of those chains and each of those links are the bad deed or a life that he destroyed or damaged.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea of karmic debt. And so, at least that. But I like the idea that he died. I have never thought of it. I will tell you, all the time I've seen it, I did not think of him dying.
I never had either, but it is an interesting thought.
It is. So thank you.
Yeah.
So, do you think that, like, the Christmas Carol and, like, Oliver Twist are happening at the same time, and that was the poorhouse that he wasn't donating to?
That would make sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his partner built them, exploited them, but he wouldn't donate to them.
Right.
That would be a crime worthy of change, worthy of regrets. If you believe in divine vision when you die, and Dickens did.
Right. Just
Yes.
because he was one of those guys that kind of looped everything,
What about the other Christmas thing, The Shining? Didn't it take place during Christmas?
Wow.
They never bring it up in the movie, but it had to have been around Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
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 It had to be through that whole winter, right?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Well,
Right. It's
wow. Okay.
There's a meme in the making. Is The Shining a Christmas movie?
There it is.
The Shining
Ho,
became
ho,
Black
ho.
Christmas. Oh, I don't know. Don't you think?
I would have to say no, because it has to have references towards the actual holiday.
Okay.
And that become
There's
pop
no
culture
Christmas trees in
references.
There's there's not even a Christmas tree in it, right?
I'm
No.
trying to remember the bar scene and whether there is one in the
Well,
corner or not.
If I remember
Mr.
correctly,
Torrance.
weren't they Jewish?
Oh, they had the the picture that he was in. That was New Year's, right?
Yeah.
Which would be a week after Christmas.
Right, but weren't they a
Forfeit.
Jewish family?
The Torrances?
Yeah.
Don't know.
But I mean, it still seems like there would be some reference to Hanukkah then at some point during this whole winter of...
Discontent.
Right?
It's actually a big argument online that it is considered a Christmas movie.
Oh, weird.
Wow. Okay.
Well, actually, it's a movie about lockdowns.
Oh, great.
They were locked down, man.
Yeah.
And see what happens to people?
That is true. Except for now we have, like, Netflix and stuff, so no TV, no... Right? So we're good. We're good.
Right? So I'm curious. Do you guys think Bigfoot has a Christmas tree?
He's got all the trees.
He does.
He's got a Christmas forest.
But do you think he has one favorite tree that he decorates?
I don't know.
I think of Frosty the Snowman, where all the
Like the woodland
all the woodland
creatures.
creatures gather around one tree. Can you see Bigfoot in that?
Silver and gold.
No, because he's stealthy, and if he had a Christmas tree, he would have to go there a lot, and that would give him a pattern, and people would be able to follow him. They'd be able to find him. No.
Bigfoot was in that. He's a bumble.
That's
Bumble.
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was the Yeti.
Yeti,
True.
actually, yeah. Now
The
the story of
prospector.
Yeti is strange in itself.
With the toothache.
Toothache Yeti.
Which is interesting that they actually included a Yeti in the... Because those Christmas cartoons are from, what, the 60s, right?
Yes, but this
Early
was supposed to
60s.
be every woodland creature.
But you got to
so
think,
they
they included the woodsman, the mountain man.
Yep.
Who is the mountain man's enemy?
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot or the Yeti?
It is the creature of the wild.
Where's the dog man?
Well, Dogman don't bounce.
Oh,
He's laying at the
dog
bottom.
men don't count.
Nice.
I remember that. That's why I'm over the leg between the legs. Sorry, you don't count. Yeah, let's hope.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go up on the mountain now and look for a Bigfoot tree.
Get your Bigfoot on.
So last question I'm gonna ask you guys, and we'll go back to Joe. What do you want for Christmas?
Oh shit.
Are we trying to keep this paranormal or real life?
Real life.
Real life.
I can use a new set of tires for my truck.
Oh man,
I'd be happy.
Truck.
No, I like my truck. It's got no electronics in it, no computers or anything. It's a 91 Bronco. I just need some new tires.
One of the big Broncos.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a
Cool.
big
that's
one.
our truck.
Cole's drooling
The
now.
silver anniversary. It's beautiful.
That was our wedding vehicle.
Aw.
Right?
Yeah, it was.
I love.
It actually was.
Well, it was an 87. I asked for a Carhartt vest,
Yeah.
Carhartt vest.
Carhartt vest for Christmas.
but my name's Cole. I ain't getting shit for Christmas.
You'll get socks and you'll like it.
All right, you know what? Here is what I'm going to do for all of you for Christmas. I'm going to chop up my husband and send you each a piece of him.
That is an admittance of guilt, guys.
Yes.
Everybody gets a little piece of coal in their stocking.
Oh, okay.
Help me.
Hey, I'm only 5 minutes away. I got you.
There you go.
Oh, man.
Oh.
There are so many things that I could ask for in 2020. I would have to say that the only thing that I want this year is to make it through Christmas and for everything to be all good.
So
I just want an AR-15.
Of course you do. Rambo Santa here.
So, for me, last week's show finally inspired me to pull the trigger. What I want for Christmas, because you had the show with Oberon Zell, which has had a huge resounding in the community. But no, I'm launching a new website on the 21st, and I'm hoping to be on the Great Conjunction called pagan.world. And it's going to be the largest link for pagans in the world. I'm hoping within a year.
Good.
Interesting.
Nice.
Make sure you post that in Forest Moon Grove.
That'd be terrific. We're going to get more information out. But that's what I'm hoping for. If you want to know what I want to basically get that site and launch smoothly. So.
Oh, and,
So
and along with that, for Forest Moon Grove members, for those listeners that listened last week and heard about pagans, Forest Moon Grove is joining an alliance with Abronzo and Church of All Worlds coming soon.
Yep, it's all one big package coming. It's going to change. It's actually going to shift the pagan world. Oberon and I have been working on it for a while, and last week gave us a lot more inspiration to go ahead and make moves on it. And because it was his birthday last week. But I want to thank you for that. You really helped move the project. I mean, we've been moving on it, but it really helped change the conversation last week. You actually had a real effect talking about witches from more of a paranormal point of view. So I'm really grateful for that. That was a great show, and it had a great impact. And it had a great impact, too. And I really appreciate that.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joe, what's your last question for the night?
Oh, my last question. Well, I was asking about disclosure, And see, I was thinking, what do you think about the idea that if they ever do it, instead of doing it here on Earth, they're going to have one of the moon probes is going to see something. I mean, the Chinese just landed up there with one of their probes. They got cameras looking around. Wouldn't it be better for them to say, oh, look, we caught a picture of something on the moon, rather than saying it's over Chicago?
I see it more likely
think of
being
that?
on Mars.
Right, with all the Mars
Or
stuff
on Mars,
going on.
maybe.
Because
Yeah.
they want to think about their own safety as well as what they're trying to do. And since we already have a rover on Mars, it would make more sense for them to stay at that distance.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that if they're going to do it, that, I mean, we know they're here, but for the greater general populace out there that's not even thinking about it, maybe it'd be less panic if we knew they were on Mars or the moon or somewhere?
I think. And
let me
go ahead.
Let me offer. We just went through this drill with the Curtum object that went through it was an interstellar object that's flying through our system.
Yeah.
And everybody was kind of saying, is this an interstellar probe? They were using it as a platform to ask that question and to kind of teach about that platform. So haven't we already seen the first incident of it?
Well, didn't they come out just a couple of days ago and say that thing that came real close by the other day was a stage 1 rocket from something that was fired back up in 1966?
Mm-hmm.
And it was on a weird elliptical orbit, and that's why it came by, and I guess it kind of calmed everybody down, but they're kind of maybe testing the waters.
Maybe.
Well, Muamua.
Muamua.
Yeah. Muamua.
You know, they
lighting down
Harvard,
the Antarctic.
They had Harvard scientists that came out and said that wasn't from Earth, or wasn't from our solar system.
Right.
You know,
Well, we talk about the very original one, and then the Black Knight satellite. I mean, like, if you want to go back that far...
Black Knight is one of there's supposed to be 2 of them, and that is one of the ones that is, you know, Black Knight's still up there, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the part that bothers me about the Black Knight is there have been some reports come out and say, oh, they say it's 13,000 years old or something. It's like, how do they know that? But they've gone over and taken a piece. You know, how do they know how old it is?
Carbon date that.
But if you exactly,
they carbon dated a picture.
You can't carbon date a picture.
Right? Yeah, can't do that. You know, the it still kind of amazes me that we've had these stuff on Muamua. You know, did it land in Antarctica? What is that thing that looks like Muamua that left a pathway and it hit Antarctica? You know, and what are we doing as far as why are we closing all the observatories? Why are they all closed for COVID? Yeah, and why anyone's working them? Why did we have the incidents that nobody remembers about? The
one in Arizona where the FBI raided it with helicopters and shut it down for 2 weeks?
Exactly.
What was that?
Yeah, and the same thing with the one in Pennsylvania is still closed. That supposedly after a UFO sighting, this 300 acres is closed off, and it holds it's old, but it is a NASA area for astronomy. And what the heck?
And Arecibo destroyed itself?
Maybe all these park closures have been because there's been mysterious monoliths appearing. Just saying.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about all these mysterious monoliths?
Art. Period.
Right.
Art.
I think it's an art piece too, but I also think it's magical art. I think this is a game of intention. They're trying to. So I think the Romania and the Utah ones are connected. I do not think I think the California one's a copycat. There's reason because it was not properly buried in the ground.
Right.
They're all the same size, but this is an art piece. Because we now know it was on Google Maps for 5 years. Remember, the one in Utah has been on the Google Maps for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
and nobody went to it. It was only because a sheep person did it. So the people who removed it, that sort of thing. So I think it's an art piece. I think it's a message piece. But I also think there's groups around creating antennas of all kinds, astral and projected antennas. This could have been set down as an antenna. It's not that far from Sedona. It's not so from those power bases. So I think it's a magical art, but I think they intended it to be an antenna. And I think everything else that has associated with it, as the takedown, had nothing to do with the original group. And I think the Romanian people were the ones who just put their second stage in. I think there's people trying to communicate. I do. Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
And then California just became a copycat.
Well, it most definitely was because the welds were visible on that one. Like it didn't even look the same.
Leave it up to California. Jeez, Joe.
Why is everyone always picking on California?
You're
easy to pick on.
You're out there making monoliths and just sticking them all over the place.
You're not supposed to tell anybody that.
My bad.
Sure. And everything we've been talking about is that now that they've been seen and disappeared, what are they generating? If this is a magical creation and magical art, seeking to extend it, they are drawing tremendous attention.
Attention to it, exactly.
So when we find a real monolith from an actual alien civilization, no one's going to pay attention to it.
No, they're going to be common.
That's a good point.
They're turning commonplace. I mean, we've had what?
Well,
we've had 4 monoliths in 2 weeks?
So this is just getting us ready for the next stage of invasion? Because they're like, hey, check this out. We'll get them used to it. And
look, the humans are doing it to themselves.
What it is it's pulling away it could be used as a thing that just pulls your attention away. It's magic. Pull your attention. Look over here. Don't look here.
Look at my right hand, and you don't see what my left hand is doing.
Exactly. And then at the same time, monoliths. And, Edgar Mitchell, a long time ago, talked about a monolith on a moon of Mars and was saying that we had been there and have seen this, and no one's been to Mars, have we?
Well,
isn't there a photograph of one? I think it's on the moon, one of the moons of Mars, and there's something that looks like a monolith standing in a crater.
Yeah.
There's one on the out of that one picture of the side of the dark side of the moon that had one, like of our moon.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Well, that was like a tower, wasn't it?
Yeah. But they called it the monolith of the moon.
Monolith.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It basically looked like more of a Egyptian style monolith, though, like the Capitol building,
Right. Right. Kind of like the Washington Monument.
So.
Right.
I will offer you one more thing I think that's showing us moving towards disclosure, and that is the recent, over the last 3 years, of all these exotic interstellar engines, and saying that we're not that far away from them. And the constant talk about these different ideas of interstellar engines are at our fingertips. That's a huge jump, but they're starting to talk about them.
You're 100% right, Ed. And you know what is really weird? I was watching a video, it was probably a month ago or 2 months ago, and they're talking about warp drive. Mm-hmm. And I'm like going, wait a minute, where's Ray Roddenberry now? And I saw a complete article that went back to Star Trek when they originally met with the Vulcan race came to the United States, and this guy invents warp drive, and it's kind of interesting when you're talking about having warp drive in 4 years. That's insane.
Right. It's like all your.
I saw an article maybe just a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about a new fuel source. Basically, we have chemical rockets and all the fuel that it takes to get us moving, and they're combining new chemicals to where there's going to be like 1,000 times more power out of the same volume, which means you'll be able to go a lot further with, better mile per gallon, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you believe in the portals and everything else, you don't need that. And why do we have, we have the S.
You got to get to the portals.
Well, you know, the portals, there are portals here on Earth, wormholes or whatever that are opened
Stargates.
up. Yeah, and some stargates, exactly.
The thing about portals, I always wondered, are they one way?
That's
like
what
if you go through one,
me.
can you come back through, or do you got to find the portal on the other side to get you back?
Well, okay, so the biggest problem with a portal going, okay, so it would be the same problem that we have with the wormhole, would be the fact that even if you do take that trip to the other side, when you went back through the hole, you would be thousands of years into the future coming back because of the difference in time and space. So if you went through it and you stayed on that planet for a week and came back through the wormhole back to Earth, it would be 500, 200, 1,000 years into the future that you'd be coming back to Earth.
And
it was like that movie. It was like that movie with McConaughey. They dealt with the time dilation really well with that one. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Interstellar.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he was on Mars. Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem with any of that type of travel would be the fact that in space and in space-time, time revolves differently for every area. So by the time that you were ready to come back, even if it had been an hour, it could have potentially been 100 or 1,000 or 100,000 years on Earth to come back to.
And
well, how many people have you heard about? You know, I'm sorry. You know, when I listen to this stuff, I always think about some of the military people who said they've had their mind erased or have these things, and they have gone into the military and gone into a program for 20 years and then come back.
Yeah.
They come back, and they are the same age that they are when they came when they first started.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, "Well, where you been for 2 weeks?"
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Except
I
for the-
think.
I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Okay, except for the fact that, okay, so here's where the problem lies in that, is that you would never be able to go into the past. You could go into the future, you could go into the present, but you can't go into the past. Because, okay, not because of all the rules of time travel or anything like that, but you can only go back to the point in time in which you entered that. You can't go...
That's assuming we know anything about time travel. That's a theory.
Right, that's reversible.
We may be able to go backwards and forwards, but you never know.
So, can I offer you an alternative view to the idea of these interstellar energy? What's going to happen if they don't disclose? Fine, but if they don't disclose soon, so if they don't disclose soon, we're about to see the exponential growth of rocketry. We're not seeing the beginning of the space travel. We're starting to see the beginnings of the wagon trains and everybody heading to those asteroids to get their riches. We're literally seeing, within 20 years, we're going to be seeing the beginning of the wagon trains and the asteroid hunters. It's going to look like the Wild West with rockets. And I think that's, with these reusable rockets and everything, I think we're heading for it. So if we don't disclose soon, we're going to be out there in a big way. And I think because it's got a lot of commercial operations, I think it's going to get into the average person.
Well, I mean, and you also got Blue Horizon working on mining technology for space. So,
and you have, PTR. I can tell you there's over a dozen. We have PTR, which has actually done it. We've got asteroid material coming back. China planted a flag on the moon, second country to do it, and bringing back 2.2 kilograms of moon rock. How much is that worth? I mean, it's priceless right now.
Right.
We have asteroid material coming back, and the exponential growth of our robots. We're about to send out an army of robots into space.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not so much man's going to go out first. I think we're sending the robots out. Well, we're doing it now. But, I mean, we're going to be doing that big time.
Oh, the project
Send the robots out to do the mining and bring the mineral wealth back to us.
So how much harder is it going to be not disclosed?
Right. But I mean, in that case, wouldn't we then, we're bringing all these foreign materials back that we might not have here on Earth. So with that, we would have more opportunity to create different gases and different propulsion systems with different materials that we didn't even know existed before.
Well, it's possible that we might find different materials out there, but basically it's stuff that we have here, stuff we know about. Mm-hmm. There's gold and there's titanium and
diamonds.
Other rare earth minerals that are in the mantle that are here, but we can't get to them in quantity. But there are a lot of them out there because it was probably a protoplanet that either exploded or never quite formed, and that's what the asteroid belt is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, the worst thing about it is when you talk about disclosing and all that other stuff is, what are they going to disclose? Are they going to disclose a lie? Because truthfully, they cannot really just say, oh, excuse me, we've had this, and that, and we know about this forever. Because wouldn't that kind of piss you off a little bit? I know it would me.
Absolutely.
And
well, they do that all the time. They come out with stuff, and all of a sudden something will come out in the military. So, yeah, everyone go, oh, my God, this is groundbreaking. He said, yeah, we invented this 20 years ago. We just didn't tell you guys. They do that now.
Right. No, I'm talking about. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like going up there right now. I mean, Michael Sherratt has spent a long time looking at dark projects and everything else. And what do we see out of him? Oh, if you see a UFO on a Thursday night, chances are it's one of ours, you know.
Yeah.
And these giant triangles that have been seen, they seem to always make hard turns and make small mini blackouts. We've all had something go across our home that blacks us out for about 2 seconds and then goes on. And you see it, I've actually traced it on a case before. Mm-hmm. And they always seem to be heading towards Wright Pat or some military base that is got dark secrets. And could it not be the major problem that we have with worrying about protecting ourselves and things that they don't want us to see is maybe that we've already been in space in these crafts and traveling around, and us being the human species that we are, we've already caused some problems out there.
Right. Well, the biggest problem that I see with space exploration is the fact that, like, most of space, we don't even know what it is.
No.
Hey, well, you know, it's just like right now.
Dark matter, dark energy that we don't even know what it's made of.
Yeah, well, right now, we don't even know what's in our oceans, and what are we seeing that the government's talking about? Everything that they have released
USOs
has come from the water or over the water.
Yep.
Right.
You know, and that's the one place that we never go to. I mean,
so if we can send a rocket to Mars, then why don't we know what's in the trench?
Even Christopher Columbus talked about the UFO in his diaries. I mean,
right? Exactly.
And the answer for you is that we made a UN treaty to protect the deep oceans from exploitation. If there's no profit in it, there's no reason to do it. That's the argument. That's a capitalistic argument.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we are coming down towards the end of the show. Barry, who do you have coming on this week, and how can listeners find Into the Fire?
Into the Fire, it's going everywhere. You can find it on Parahouse TV on Facebook. You can find it on YouTube.com / Parahouse TV. You can find it on Parahouse TV .com / Into the Fire. This week we have Victor Deanna, and we're going to be we're doing a roundtable with UFO woman Melissa Kennedy, Kevin Briggs, and Edgar Yo. And we're going to be touching on a little bit of everything from conspiracy theories, including UFOs, and some of the latest current news that's been coming out of the UK that we aren't able to see here. Thank you for giving us a pitch.
Excellent. And Ed, where can we find Witch School?
Witchschool.com. It's that simple.
Right.
35 free courses, and if you ever wanted to be a witch, this is the time to do it. You're in COVID. 1 year. We have a 1 year free program and a bunch more. So yeah, which cool.
And you have paranormal classes as well, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. We have a whole division of people who love paranormal. Absolutely. People don't think of it. We're kind of a complete education. We have not just paganism. We have things about astrology. We actually have UFO hunter people who talk about UFOs and put it into those sort of connotations. We're a pretty broad community, but we really love this sort of stuff. But people, it's the label thing. Nobody really realizes that. But at Witch School, 300,000 students. We've graduated over 4,000 people who are in positions of legal clergy status around the world. Oh, so much more. I really love the site. And it's our 20th anniversary next year.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
And so,
congratulations.
Well, and thank you for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure. I was grateful for the interview last week, but this has been I really had a good time. So thank you.
We need to have you back on the roundtable.
Yeah, Ed's going to be a regular on the roundtable now.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
I love having a branch off of a perspective when we bring our topics to the table. And so also for our listeners that want more information on the alliance with Church of All Worlds, make sure you go to Forest Moon Grove. I'll also be putting it out on Forest Moon Paranormal on the Facebook groups. So next week we do have... Oh, wait, Joe. Do you have any pointy sticks that you're going to make to sell for Christmas?
Actually, I'm kind of got quite a few of them right now, but I'm thinking about making a bigger one because my project these days is I'm trying to get a photo of the bear. He's been around here the last couple nights. In fact, I heard him right when the show started behind the barn. But,
Like, did you say
he's around.
I come over there.
Yeah, maybe I'll get a picture with the bear. Yeah, I'll go up and do a selfie.
I wouldn't do the selfie thing.
Hey, boo-boo.
Last time I saw him, he's a big chestnut brown. He's huge. Trying to get a photo of him.
If you don't get his good side, he's going to be mad.
Right.
So if you can't get a hold of me for the next roundtable, you know what happened.
You have to bear one. So next week we have our S-4 Kids Show. So you're going to hear from Jalen, Hunter, John, Kimberly, Anthony, and Cheyenne. And everything Christmas, Santa Claus, and paranormal from the Paranormal Kids of S-4. So it's going to be a fun show. And they might last an hour, hour and a half. So then the grown-ups will pick up when they get burnt out.
Definitely.
But I want to hear from our kids on their idea of what the paranormal is. And then, of course, once they burn out, then I think we're going to talk about kids and the paranormal as paranormal parents of paranormal kids. So, with that, y'all have a safe week. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, whatever your tradition is. And remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.